Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. My name is Kartik. I'm one of the co-founders of ETH Global, and I'm super excited to welcome all of you to HackFS 2023. Let's get started. All of you are watching this on ethglobal.tv, and for those of you who are joining us for the first time, this is what we'll be using for the rest of this event to talk about all the things that we're doing, whether it's the kickoff, the closing, to do all the demos, and all of our summits. In case you don't know what ETH Global is, we're an organization with a very simple mission. Our goal is to get thousands of developers into the Web3 ecosystem. And we do this by running hackathons and summits, both in person and online. And HackFS is no different. This is going to be our third one from in the past few years. And today, and this time around, we also have a summit that we'll be doing immediately after we cover the hackathon logistics. The summit will take place today. Let's kind of talk about all the interesting things that are happening in the protocol network. And before we get to all of the summit stuff, I want to cover all the things that you need to know for the hackathon. So let's get right into it. This is already shaping up to be a massive event. We have over 700 hackers who are coming in from 72 different countries, spanning 23 different time zones. There's going to be so many creative ideas that are going to be built over the next few weeks. And kind of looking at where people are coming from, it still impresses me every time to see all the countries and 6 different continents being represented in where developers are excited to build on top of Ethereum, protocol networks, Filecoin, and IPFS, and all things in between that help make us a better decentralized future. On top of all the hackers, we also have 29 ecosystem partners and 12 dedicated mentors who are going to be here with us throughout the event to really offer you the best experience in helping your project go from start to finish. And to top it all off, we're going to be giving away $150,000 in prizes. And I'm going to cover all the specifics on what these prizes are, how you can win them, and all the things that you need to know about the best way to go about participating in this event. So the most common question we've gotten from everybody is, what can I build here? This is a very open-ended event, which means that you are not solving a particular problem. Our goal is to help you build anything that you're excited about, as long as you are using interesting and new Web3 technologies. And some of the ideas that we want to bring up is that there's so much you can do with decentralized compute, especially with the Filecoin Virtual Machine. There's a lot of room to experiment with data DAOs and different ways to manage storage and storage derivatives. Of course, the second you have decentralized storage, you can do so much more with NFTs, whether it's in the art or music side or anything else in the social category. And because all of this ecosystem is still currently growing, there is even more opportunity in making better developer experiences, better tools and utilities, so the next 1,000 people can do anything that you wanted to do even faster because they have better abstractions to make their lives a lot easier. This is just a very high-level overview. There's a lot more we have covered today, especially in our summits. We're going to talk about what you actually can build in terms of bigger opportunities. There's a lot of things you can do with just talk to our mentors and get more ideas. We also are working on a list of potential brainstorming ideas for the hackathon if you are still looking for an idea to go off of and experiment and kind of tweak around and make it your own. And I also want to give a special shout out to some of our amazing partners. There's so many different protocols and companies in this space that are here excited to support this event. And you can also get some inspiration for ideas or how you can not reinvent the wheel by using some of these amazing protocols. Of course, we have Filecoin. We also have ApeCoin, libp2p, Bacalao, Ceramic, Lighthouse, Tableland, Polybase, LivePeer, Huddle01, Barracks, Push Protocol, ENS, NFT.storage, Spiron, and Lit Protocol, DRAN, Dataverse OS, Fission, Mona, ChainSafe, IPFS, Filecoin Data Tools, Consensus Lab, Saturn, Secured Finance, Graph Paper Capital, Outlier Ventures, and Filecoin Foundation. So on top of all the other ideas, you have so much you can do in terms of leveraging anywhere from decentralized real-time live streaming to push notifications to anything else in between to help make your creative ideas come to reality. You can check out all these companies and protocols and learn about what they do and how you can simplify a lot of these things. And they're also giving away a lot of prizes. I'm going to cover how you can win specific prizes for different protocols by using their SDKs. So let's talk about what the next 3 weeks look like. My goal here is to cover a handful of logistical things that you all need to know, and especially kind of how judging works. And then we're going to go into all the prizes and then end off by kicking the summit off with all the things that are happening in the Protocol Labs network. So I want to cover how team formation works, how you can get help, all the prizes, of course, all the talks and workshops, and judging. So let's go into the first thing, which is communication. The most important thing to know here is that everything is happening over Discord for this event, which means that only hackers who have RSVP'd will be able to see these channels. You'll see a HackFS 2023 header on your left sidebar on Discord, which will show all of these amazing channels to you. You can get that confirmed by also going to your dashboard on ethglobal.com and clicking on Sync with Discord to see all the right permissions you need to get to see all these things. This is where all the activities are happening for this event. This is also where our mentors and our partners are hanging out. You can ask direct questions to different protocols and ask any questions that you have on the technical side or non-technical side, and a mentor will be there to help address these requests. On top of all of that, we are also going to be sending calendar invites for all the talks and workshops that are happening. That spans today and the next couple of weeks, including all feedback sessions. And some of these things will be repeated multiple times to account for different time zones. We really want this thing to be asynchronous, and as part of that, everything is going to be recorded and everything is also published on the website, which means that anything you see on the website is the source of truth, and that is going to be the record of kind of primary way of us keeping track of everything that's happening. If something changes, they'll be first reflected on the website, and that is how we're going to be communicating everything, and all the invites or anything else will update. And nothing should change, but in case it happens, you know that the website is the only place where you need to look. What is a website? Well, you can go to hackfs.com and see everything about this event there, and that'll also let you in to your dashboard directly from that same page where you can see your internal progress about your own projects. So how does the hackathon actually work? Effectively, you can start working on your projects now. You can work on a project with up to a 5-member team. You can also work on them individually, and you have the next 2.5 weeks to hack and work on your projects. Submissions are due on the 18th of June, which is the Sunday at 12 p.m. Eastern, which is noon. And we're going to talk about what this means and all the things that you need to be mindful of as you approach June 18th. So the rules and criteria of this event are fairly straightforward. Everything that you are doing must be done from scratch, which means that you cannot extend or work on a previously started personal project. You cannot add features to something you've already done before. You cannot continue something from a previous ETH Global Hackathon if you are coming in again. Everything should be done from scratch to keep this fair for everybody else. And all submissions must leverage IPFS or Filecoin or any related technology which is in the EVM ecosystem as part of your submission to qualify for any prizes. This also means that if you win any prizes, only RSVP hackers are eligible to win, which means if your team members are not listed on your dashboard, or if your team members did not RSVP, then winning a prize will only entitle just the people that are listed at the time of submission to those prizes. So please make sure that all of you who have team members are listed and they show up on their dashboards and everybody is confirmed and also has Discord access. Also, another quick clarification there is that although all work must be done from scratch, you can use boilerplate code, which means anything like scaffold ETH or React boilerplate, all that is allowed. You can use an existing open source project. If you feel like you want to add something to a existing decentralized protocol and you want to use their open source code, those things are allowed. If something is already in the public domain as a well-known open source project, you can use that. You can use all the SDKs and different boilerplates. You don't have to do everything from scratch, but you specifically cannot extend your own project or use your own project again for this hackathon. And of course, there could be some edge cases that we haven't covered here because we want to keep this very quick. So if you have any other questions or any other clarifications that you'd like to know, please ping us, whether it's on Discord or the ETH Global TV chat or hello@ethglobal.com on email. We'll be happy to assist you with any of those cases. Now is the most important stuff, which is judging. So there's a lot of stuff that you need to know about for judging. Submissions are due at 12 p.m. noon on Sunday, June 18th. And the next few days are the most important after that. And I'm going to cover what submitting means and what happens immediately after. To submit your project, you will have to make a 4-minute demo video of what you built. This is a required video submission. This helps us ensure that everything is concise, everybody gets the same amount of time, and you have the ability to focus on the key things that you want to do, which you may not be able to do in a live demo. Video submissions are required, and please trust me when I say this, it will take you more than 4 minutes to record a 4-minute demo. So don't prepare this last minute. There's a lot of things that you realize that you could have focused on, or you should have focused on, or the time you want to spend on introduction versus the actual demo of what you built. All these things will take some iteration, and we really want you to get a head start on this. So please get started on this as you near the deadline instead of the day of to submit your project. It will take you at least 1 hour to submit your projects because we will require you to explain a lot of stuff around how you build things. You have to reference code in your submission to tell us exactly how you're using what SDKs and what APIs and how everything else works under the hood on the back end or the front end, or everything beyond just the basic information of your project, including a few screenshots and of course this video demo. So please bucket in enough time to be ready to submit your project, and don't do this thing last minute. All of this thing will be done through your dashboard. And early next week, you'll be able to see what all these steps are as we open up submissions. And this will let you see all the multiple steps and fields that you need to think about and be ready for. And we also have a lot of reference videos and demos and submissions from the past events that we really like for you to use as guidance for what a good submission and a good video looks like. So you can draw inspiration from all of those previously done projects and make sure that you are ready to submit on the 18th. After you submit, you will have the option to go through the main judging process or just the partner prize judging process. Now, what does this mean? This means that you can only submit to work and qualify for some of our partner sponsor prizes. Or if you want to be eligible for the top 10 teams, you get to click the main judging process. If you click on the main judging process, you are also automatically going to be eligible for partner prize judging. But if you select the partner prize judging only, then you will not be able to go back and submit yourself for the main judging process. If you are interested in just being reviewed by our partners and not the main judging, or you want to apply for different prizes, in both of those scenarios, that process will be judged in parallel by our partners. They will not specifically be doing a one-on-one call with all of you. We expect a few hundred projects here. So all of the partners will be looking at everything asynchronously, and they will reach out to the teams and message you, whether it's on email or Discord, if they have questions about your video or your code. All of that will remain asynchronous. However, on the main judging side, this will be a synchronous process. You'll be presenting to a main judging panel, and they will be talking to you live. You'll be showing what you built there live as well. And there'll be questions there, and that'll be a synchronous process where you will have to come on a Zoom call. Now, the partner prize judging is a very obvious thing, which is you submit your project, the partners will get a notification, and they will start looking at what you built and ask any questions if they have them. But let's focus on the main judging, which is broken into 2 rounds. So on Sunday, when you submit your project, some of our judges will be on watch to review every project that was submitted, and they will watch and look at all of your submissions for round 1. What round 1 is doing is going through every submission and evaluating the prototype, the quality of the project, checking if it was indeed built during the course of the hackathon, which was we're going to verify the Git history, and we're going to look at what you built and is it creative, interesting, or a hard project. If our judges like your project, you will be then selected to move to round 2, and you'll be notified in the 12 hours, within the 12 hours of submitting your project. So that's midnight Eastern on Sunday. And you'll be notified to go to round 2, and that's the day after, where you will be selected to come on a Zoom call. So what does round 2 mean? So round 2 lets you go and present what you built to our other panel of judges in a live call, where you will get 7 minutes, where 4 minutes of it is for your demo and 3 minutes for Q&A from our judges. And the projects that are going to qualify from round 2 will be the ones that will be selected to be potentially part of our top 10 teams that will be our finalists for this hackathon. The round 2 and then live judging takes place on Monday at noon, which is exactly 24 hours after submissions are due, and you'll be notified if you made it to round 2 within 12 hours of submitting your project. And as I kind of mentioned already, the partners will be reviewing your project asynchronously based on all the things that you specify, which also means that if you are trying to go for a prize from any of our partners, you have to select it in your submission process on your dashboard, because if you don't tell us that you want to go for this prize, we have no way of knowing. Neither do our partners. So don't forget to select I am looking to qualify for this prize on your submission process, and then as soon as you select a protocol, that protocol will be notified on their end to review what you built. So make sure you keep all of that in mind. And of course, I'm looking at questions from the live stream. This is going to be made available immediately after this video stops, but you can also rewind, so you can simply just go back in this video and review everything that I've said. In the short description of all of this thing for judging is that make the video good. It's what shares the best story of what you built, who you are, why you care about that problem, and you have 4 minutes to really tell us why everybody should be excited about what you built. This will be the best thing you can do to qualify for round 2 on the main judging, to win a prize, or really kind of get people excited about the potential of what you were trying to build and what could be possible with Web3 and decentralized software. And of course, we recognize that there's a lot of you who are trying to understand what's possible here before, and you are trying to learn what you can do here. And it's totally okay if you are brand new. This is your first time doing any Web3 hackathon. There's a lot of stuff that we have planned for everybody here, no matter what your skill level is, whether it's a beginner or an expert. So there's a lot of talks and panels and workshops, especially today. We're going to cover so many things from beginners to experts level ways of getting involved in this ecosystem, which is this summit. There's so much more resources and documentation on your info center, which you can see as a tab on your Hacker dashboard. And on top of all the workshops and talks, everything is recorded because we want to make sure this is an asynchronous event that is global. So immediately after something ends, it will be instantly available on our YouTube, which is youtube.com/ethglobal, and you can go watch, rewind it, and pause at any time at your own pace and really keep up with what's actually happening for any of these technologies. And of course, everybody who gave a talk and workshop is on Discord, so you can individually message any of our speakers here to ask any follow-up questions, especially from any of the technical content that we cover. And of course, a lot of you are still looking for potentially an idea or a team. You can go to this channel on Discord to reach out to others who are also in a similar position. There's a lot of people who are looking for different team members. There's a lot of people who are looking to join a team and they can contribute different skills. You can do all of that directly on this channel, and we'll also be hosting another live call later today, and some of them already have happened yesterday and today, to brainstorm and get to meet other team members who are looking for different teams. And all of that is also happening on Discord. So check out the HackFS 2023 chat channel. We'll say hi, tell us who you are, and let us know what you're excited to build. And also, we'd love to say hi and meet all of you from all different parts of the world. And of course, it's not required that you work on a team. It just makes things a lot easier if you have a team. So it is totally okay to hack solo and use this as a way to challenge yourself and learn something over the next 2 to 3 weeks. Now let's quickly talk about check-ins. So check-ins is something we'll be implementing for this hackathon, which is a check-in is something that happens once a week. It allows us to get the help, give you the help you need to really make sure that you're not blocked on anything. This will be a simple form that just appears on your Hacker dashboard. It just asks, how are things going? If you have an idea, are you stuck somewhere, or do you need help, or did you need help but you didn't get any? And it helps us really prioritize and get you unblocked on anything that you are looking to get. Check-ins are going to be required for everybody here as a team. So only one person on the team has to fill out that check-in, and there'll be a couple of them over the next 2 weeks. And all this thing is going to happen through your dashboard. We really want to make sure that you're getting the help you need, especially as we do this thing for hundreds of people across so many different cities and countries. And similarly, there's also going to be 2 live feedback sessions for getting direct comments from some of our mentors, potential judges, and other partners of this community. You can join these calls to get direct feedback that's live and get help and get ideas to kind of make what you're doing better by just showing up and telling everybody else about what you're building and if there's anything that you can do to improve. And before we go into prizes, I also want to cover some of our code of conduct. Everything that we're going to cover is written on eatglobal.com/rules. It has our privacy policy. It has our policies on the events, the rules, anything around what it means to participate at any of our events, whether it's in person or online. But the short of it is that please be respectful, and harassment, abuse in any form will not be tolerated as part of being our community. And anything that you build is going to be owned by you and solely you as the creators of that project. So you own all IP, and overall, please be excellent to each other. And then if you need any help, if there's anything else that we didn't cover, you can reach out to anybody on the Global team, and we'll be happy to assist you with any of those questions. All of that, again, is going to be on hackfs.com. You can see the schedule, all the specific deadlines, who our speakers, mentors, judges, everyone else participating in this event is, and all that is made available for you. So now let's go into all the prizes. So the first one I want to cover is FVM. So $15,000 that'll be paid in Filecoin tokens will be given for the grand prize category for the best use of FVMs. 3 teams are going to get $5,000 each, and 14 teams are going to be getting $500 each for making a project that is best leveraging the Filecoin Virtual Machine. Then we have ApeCoin. So the best integration for the ApeCoin community and the DAO will get $3,000 for the first place and $2,000 for the second place. And the best contribution to the ApeCoin ecosystem will get $3,000 for the first place and $2,000 for the second place. $10,000 you can win from blending what's happening with the ApeCoin ecosystem and decentralized storage and everything else that's happening in this world. So check out those prizes. Next one is Bacalao. So you can win $10,000, and this will be split among up to 5 teams for the best use of compute over data and or AI. This lets you really do computations on chain for data that's stored. And there's a lot of creative things that we can do, especially with what's happening with anything on-chain data and a lot of things that you have noticed on AI. Next up is libp2p. So the best use of libp2p for a project will be getting $5,000, which could be split with up to 5 teams. All of this will be paid in Filecoin tokens as well. So if you're excited about networking and leveraging different networking, architect different ways to network and send different information between different servers and nodes, you can use libp2p directly and build something super creative. Then we have Huddle 01. So the best use of a decentralized communication application, whether it's live streaming, live video, or anything that's a decentralized way of communicating on chain, will qualify for this prize as long as you're using the Huddle SDK. And the first team will get $2,000. The second 2 people will get to $1,000 each, and then 5 projects will be runner-ups for $2,000. And then we have Saturn. So the best retrieval via a distributed CDN, which is using Saturn Network, will get $5,000, and up to 5 teams can qualify for this. So they'll split that amount amongst them equally. Then we have Push Protocol. Push Protocol is a push notification communication service for Web3. So the most innovative application that uses push will get $1,500. The best use of push video or push chat will get $750. An overall category for all-rounder will get also $750 for that integration. And up to 20 projects can qualify for the full prize, which means that up to 20 projects who win will be splitting $2,000 amongst themselves equally. Then we have consensus lab prizes. So the best use of FVM or IPC for subnets will get to up to $5,000, which can be paid for up to 5 teams in Filecoin tokens. And this will let you test out basically the on-demand horizontal scalability of the Filecoin network. So seeing interesting use cases around that is what Consensus Lab is interested in, and you get to really be one of the first few people to give feedback and use IPC. Then, of course, we have IPFS. 5 teams can win up to $5,000 for just the best use of Helia, Kubo, or other IPFS implementations for just making a really cool P2P consumer or developer app on top of IPFS. Then we have the Ethereum name service. So the best integration of ENS will win $4,000, and there's a wildcard prize for the runner-up where a team will win $1,000 for the best ENS integration in their hack. Then we have LIT protocol. LIT protocol lets you manage cryptographic key pairs and kind of conditional encryption and signing for your applications. The best use of LIT actions and programmable key pairs will be receiving $3,000, and the best use of data DAOs combined with LIT will also win $1,000, and a wildcard category for the best use of LIT protocol overall will also be receiving $1,000. Then we have Dataverse OS. So Dataverse OS is giving $5,000 in prizes, where the best use of Dataverse OS will receive $2,500, the second place will get $1,500, and the third place will get $1,000 as a runner-up. And next up is Spheron. So Spheron is also giving $2,500 in prizes, where the best use of Spheron for first place will get $2,500, second place gets $1,500, and third place will be receiving $1,000. Then we have Polybase, which is a Web3 replacement for Firebase, Postgres, and Superbase. So the best integration with Polybase will be getting $2,500 for first prize. Second place will be getting $1,500, and third place will be getting $1,000. Next up is LivePeer. LivePeer lets you do live broadcasting of video in a decentralized way. So the best content moderation or social media tool that uses LivePeer will be receiving $3,000, and the 2 interactive live streaming applications that are the best use of LivePeer will be receiving $1,000 each. Next up, we have Ceramic. Ceramic is also giving away $5,000, where first place will be getting $2,500, second place getting $1,500, and third place $1,000 for the best integration for Ceramic and managing your identity and data on chain. Then we have Tableland. Tableland is a relational composable database that's decentralized. The best use of Tableland will get $1,500 as first place, $1,000 for second place, and $500 for third place. And up to 15 teams can win the pool prize of $2,000, which means up to 15 teams will be splitting $2,000 equally for leveraging Tableland in their projects. Then we have ChainSafe, and if you're interested in making games, you can use the ChainSafe gaming SDK for your project, and 2 teams will win $1,750 as part of their prize. Then we have Filecoin data tools. So we want to make sure we do a lot of cool dev tools and make things easier for the next set of developers. So anything that is in the best tools category or mobile apps for Filecoin data tool suite will be winning up to $5,000 for 5 teams, and you will be receiving that in Filecoin tokens. Then we have NFT.storage. If you want a really easy to understand API for managing your NFTs or any Web3 data, you can use NFT.storage or Web3.storage, and you'll be receiving up to $3,000 from 5 teams for the best integration for NFT.storage or Web3.storage. Then we have Mona. So if you want to build something that's in the open metaverse and use a lot of 3D design and assets to build a creative experience, you can use the Mona SDK for this, where the first place will be getting $1,500, the second place will be getting $1,000 prize, and the third place will be getting $500 for best use of Mona integration. Then we have Lighthouse. So the top team building on Lighthouse SDK, which is a way for you to use a service to store your data permanently without always having to renew your contracts, will get $2,500 from Lighthouse. Then we have DRAND. And if you are interested in making super interesting verifiable randomness and leveraging that for any of your application, you can use DRAN or time lock encryption, and up to 5 teams can qualify for the $2,000 prize for the best use of DRAN SDK integration. Then we have Barracks. So the best use of Barracks API will get $1,500, and that is a way for you to streamline your interaction with blockchain data and query a lot more information directly in a more easy way. Then we have the Fission Prize, and the best use of ODD SDK or starter templates will get $1,500. So these were all of our prizes, and this is officially a way for me to tell you that I just gave you a very high-level overview of what the prizes are and the amounts, but there's a lot more specifics around documentation, exactly how you can win or what does and doesn't qualify, and link to their workshops, a direct way to understand their code, which is anywhere from sample of repos to some of the boilerplate code they already have set up for you to just kind of copy and branch off from. All of that is available to you on the prizes page, which is on hackfs.com. You can just click on any of these protocols and check out all the specifics around what qualifies, how you can win the prizes, what does a good submission look like, and how you can get started on any of these. So there's a massive breakdown for all of these things for you, but that is all of the logistics for the hackathon that you need to know. And before we go on to the summit, I want to just remind everybody to really pace yourself. We really want this to be a fun and exciting experience for you. The reason this event is a couple of weeks long is because we know it takes time to learn something that's happening that could change and have so much high potential. So we really want you to take the time and really understand how things work before you jump right into building something. And we don't want this to be exhausting for you. We've done everything we can to make this thing as asynchronous and easy to catch up and follow. So you get a chance to really learn with everybody else and get all of your questions answered before you jump right into building anything. So this is very much about experimentation, and we want to make sure that you get a chance to better yourself and learn something super cool. So with that, I want to wish all of you happy hacking. We'll see all of you on Discord, and we are ready to kick off with our summit for today. So this is the HackFS 2023 summit, and what's on schedule today is as follows. Our first speaker is going to be Molly, who's going to be talking about the PLN ecosystem and all the things that are happening and you can build. Of course, a big part of the next few weeks is going to be the Filecoin Virtual Machine, so you'll get a high-level overview from Sarah on what is it, how it works, and what's coming on FVM. Then Adi and Matt are going to talk about all the other opportunities that you have for different tracks that are here for this event and all the things that you can do as the FVM ecosystem evolves. And because the FVM has been around for a few months now, we're going to do a panel with Nikki, Shanu, Natalie, and Kate to talk about how things have been over the past few months from people who are building projects and leveraging the Filecoin Virtual Machine over what they're building for their companies. Then Ruben is going to talk about what the PLN is and the builder's funnel. We really want to also give an opportunity for people to take their projects to the next level, whether it's from a hackathon or just anybody else interested in startups. And James will be talking about the accelerator program after and what the PL Accelerator program is, how you can get involved, what it means to be part of that, and all the things that you get from being in that network. And then Gabriel from GPC will come and share anywhere from experiences to advice on how accelerators can help really get your projects to where you want to be and take something from an idea to something that everybody uses on a day-to-day basis. So without further ado, I'm super excited to welcome our first speaker for today, which is Molly. And Molly, welcome, and I'll let you get started with telling us about all the things happening in the PLN ecosystem.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kartik. I'm super excited for this and always super, super fun to get to hang out with all of these amazing humans hacking. And so let's just jump right into it. I have a lot of things to share with you today and many ideas for things that you can build. So hopefully get a little bit of inspiration. If you ever want to follow up on any of these or want to pitch me your idea and get feedback, feel free to message me on Twitter. I'm Momac28 and happy to keep chatting there. So here's a quick agenda. Want to welcome you all back to HackFS. We might have a couple of returning hackers in the room, but we've had HackFS the last 4 years, which is going to be great. Give you an overview of Protocol Labs, the PL network, what kind of unites us as a community, all of the amazing folks that we're seeing participate here. Many of them are part of the PL network and helping contribute various different protocols and features to this wider community. There's some recent awesome new opportunities that are in the works that would love to seed some of your ideas with, and then give you an overview of all of the different things you can build on. Kartik has already talked to you about the many different bounties here, but some ideas on how you could actually harness and build on top of some of these technologies. And then finally, if you want to learn more, I'll highlight some of the onboarding programming we've created in the PL network that might be useful. So of course, welcome back to the 4th HackFS. We've been running this since 2020, yes, pandemic year, and seen hundreds of teams come forward, and a number of them actually turn into startups that have formed out of HackFS and are now coming back to sponsor full circle. So it's just really amazing to see the growth that has happened in this ecosystem, the amazing founders that have been created out of hacks that started here, and very excited to see what you guys come up with this year, so that hopefully our next huddle, next lighthouse, next secured finance comes out of this group today, which will be really fun. The Protocol Labs network really is unified by this mission of driving breakthroughs in computing technology to push humanity forward. Juan gives a number of great talks about this, but really it's building upon the fact that we recognize the internet is a huge superpower for humanity. So many of our tools, communication, friendships, work has been massively changed by the advent of the internet, and it's critical for our functioning today as a species. And we see these huge phase transitions coming in the next couple of decades, and we want them to be building upon an internet foundation that is robust, that is secure, that doesn't have central intermediaries that control our connections between each other, and that enables efficient kind of like individual peer-to-peer interactions, ownership of data, that is a good, robust foundation for all the work that we're doing. And we think that we need to be making improvements here. There's some really big breakthroughs that are coming in the next couple of years: machine learning, AGI, brain-computer interfaces, and we want those to build on top of like a much stronger, more robust foundation. And so Juan's given some great talks about how this really critical century, we need to be getting things right. We need to be upgrading some of our core internet protocols with Web3 to make sure that we can trust the data and the connections and the transactions that are happening in our networks, and that we can secure digital human rights that we can all build on top of. And so that's kind of why Protocol Labs was created as this innovation networks that has many different companies, many different protocols, and kind of this amazing swarm of improvements that can then empower the next set of computing breakthroughs to come with a better foundation for their information, for their peer-to-peer connections, and for their kind of like, trusted relationships with each other. And so Protocol Labs spans the R&D pipeline. There's a number of research labs across the Protocol Labs network, many groups deep in the development phases of building new products and new protocols. A number of those are productionizing and scaling to new markets, and even scaling significantly in production. And things that differentiate this community are a highly collaborative, network-oriented approach to many different protocols building on top of each other, layering as a stack to help make it easier for others to grab modular components that they can then build on top of, and just a very collaborative and supportive ecosystem. So we're excited to have you as a part of it, and feel free to ask for help, because everyone here very much wants to see you succeed and to jump into this ecosystem and start building something amazing. There are a ton of different groups across the PL network, many folks who are building on top of IPFS, libp2p, and Filecoin, but also many other programs and projects that Kartik was mentioning, folks from Mona and DRAND and Bakliao, and many other amazing components, and most of these projects are actually having bounties today at HackFS. And so if you want to go check out the PLN portal, which talks about many of these different projects, there's also links from the directory for how you can actually go and have office hours with some of these amazing collaborators, so that you can, get a deep dive on the work that they're doing, or get feedback on one of your hacks. And so recommend that's a super useful tool that you can grab a screenshot to. All right, diving into some of the breakthroughs. Here's a quick list that we keep in our PL Endres group on some of the amazing IPFS and Filecoin breakthroughs that we've been helping with and collaborating with folks on. FVM is definitely a big one in that list, but there's a number other really exciting ones. Bacalhau is super exciting. I would love to talk more about that one today. Saturn and Lassie, which is a component that's being used by Saturn as well, is really important for retrieving data very quickly from the Filecoin network, and also from, it's a CDN for any data that's stored across IPFS, Filecoin, or elsewhere. And there's some really amazing new components for IPFS. Boxo is a library for building new IPFS implementations. Helia is a new JavaScript implementation of IPFS. And so there's lots of exciting components to build on there. I'm going to give you a quick overview of maybe a couple areas that I think would be really exciting, and then we'll go through kind of a whole list of exciting things to build on. So a couple of very exciting areas in FVM. You might have heard FVM's been around for just over 2 months now. So it's still early in its early days, but we've already seen over 1,000 unique contracts be deployed on FVM. There's hundreds of people who are building smart contract applications, and some of my favorites that I think are filling really, really important needs within the Web3 ecosystem. First is perpetual or automatic storage. Lighthouse is offering a number of bounties here. They have great SDKs for building. NFT.storage and Web3.storage are also doing really useful work here. But making sure things that users want are being able to store their data and have another service or application handle the monitoring, the repair, the replication of that data on their behalf. And this is now possible with FVM. You can build all sorts of exciting services that can enable those use cases on top of the substrate of Filecoin, which is already doing kind of the automatic checking of, hey, is your storage deal being persisted over time? You can make it much more user-friendly and really help increase the accessibility of Filecoin services on other chains to different types of use cases. Things like NFT forever is absolutely, endowed storage use cases, makes a ton of sense. There's some really awesome work happening around retrieval CDNs on top of FVM. The Saturn team is now the rewards for retrieval providers within Saturn is now being paid out by FVM smart contracts. There's a number of groups who are doing things like retrieval insurance or contracts that ensure good retrievability of data. Super exciting area, super critical for all sorts of users who want hot, fast storage in Filecoin. There's some really exciting stuff happening with compute and generative AI. I literally was just playing around with Waterlily this morning because we just crossed an exabyte of data stored in Filecoin, and I was looking for what's my snazzy NFT that I'm going to mint to celebrate and commemorate that moment. And that's a great example that you can also emulate if you're going to create a compute over data network for your own use case, utilizing Bacalhau, utilizing FVM, and really optimizing those compute networks for your heart's desire, right? There's a lot of really great building blocks that you can use to get started really quickly there, and sample contracts like Waterlily that you could emulate to get started quickly. And then finally, there's some really amazing work that's happening around data DAOs, NFTs, anyone who's getting together to store data and persist data over time, utilizing maybe some of the perpetual storage contracts or retrieval assurance contracts to make sure that, say the Gutenberg library or other really critical DeSci data sets are being kind of added to and governed over time, and utilizing NFTs within those communities. So I think I've hit on a couple of these, but there's a active need within the FVM ecosystem for some awesome new services and tools building on top of those FVM building blocks, and utilizing the fact that Filecoin has an exabyte of data stored, and want to be persisting that data over time, adding new data for those communities. And so thinking about the life cycle of clients and storage providers and data in Filecoin, there's a lot of really valuable services and tools that can be created and launched here, from monitoring a collection of data over time and creating kind of like alerts for different sorts of events, to repairing data if a storage provider ever stops storing data automatically based on a set of client policies or requirements, aggregating data across many different clients who all want to store, tiny little NFTs, but bundling that all up into kind of like a larger on-chain message, which is something that Lighthouse and NFT.storage have examples of how they're doing that right now. And some of the stuff around retrieval oracles or retrieval assurance contracts are all really, really useful and valuable tools that there's lots of demand for in the FVM ecosystem right now, and from clients. We have thousands of clients who are storing data in Filecoin as well and want better tooling to ease that onboarding. Data availability. So with some new really exciting things like Lassie and Saturn, and the Interplanetary Network Indexer, IPNI, there's now additional tools for making sure that your data is available and retrievable. And we've actually already been seeing smart contracts and chain data starting to be stored inside of Filecoin itself. So, it's now possible for you to use Filecoin to build a data availability layer for other Web3 blockchains or layer 2 chains that don't want to be responsible for their own data availability. So, a great example of where you could offer this is Solana is actually already backing up their entire chain state onto Filecoin as an IPLD acyclic graph. And so you could start with that to build a data availability layer for anyone who wants to interact with Solana, or you could use the opportunity to build a Web3 chain transaction storage service that, as blocks and transactions are created in another chain, stores those in Filecoin using whatever storage service of your choice, Web3 storage, Filecoin data tools, Lighthouse, etc., or one of your own creation, so that you have a really easy to use Web3 chain storage tool, which would be super valuable for the entire Web3 space. And even better, you can layer on these new tooling around fast retrieval to make sure that you store with storage providers who are offering fast retrievals. We have, I think, it's over 10 storage providers that have an over 100% retrieval success rate, which is pretty good. Well, not over 100%, at 100%. And a number of groups that are bringing additional transports to storage as well. And so that's something that you can do on behalf of those networks to make sure that they can also retrieve the chain data very quickly, so that they can then rely on it and use it as kind of like the default way of accessing chain state and data. And you can augment this with all sorts of, shiny data features like erasure coding to make sure that you can get, a small number of copies in order to get the entire desired data set, retrieval bounties to make sure that you can really rely on the retrievals, etc. And this is a really, really hot and important area right now for the entire Web3 community. And Filecoin has all the things you need to be the team going and plugging that gap. We'd mentioned compute. It's a really exciting time to be building compute in the Filecoin ecosystem. You have Bacalhau, which is giving you all of these, critical reusable modules for building compute networks. Think of it as the IPFS for compute networks. Open source, you can use it in whatever way you want. And you can use the LilyPad bridge or clone it in order to send jobs from FVM into your own Bacalhau-powered compute over data network. And then you can optimize it for your own domain. There's definitely this critical insight from Juan that in compute over data, we're going to see many, many different networks optimizing for privacy or performance or verifiability. And so identifying your own use case in your own community that you're going to optimize your compute network for, whether that's DeSci, generative AI, ZK proofs, fully homomorphic encryption will allow you to really optimize your compute network and get it up and running quickly. You can also harness maybe my next slide. Well, maybe not. You can also harness the early stages of interplanetary consensus to, have your network very quickly get up and running, building on top of Filecoin. So you can either utilize FVM itself, or you can start building directly on IPC to have your own layer 2 network on top of Filecoin, getting started quickly. All right, so highlighting all the things that you can build on, and then I will give you some fast learning tips and see you all on Twitter. So as we mentioned, Filecoin Virtual Machine is launched. It's all EVM compatible. There's a huge opportunity to be building within this new data economy. There's already an exabyte of data stored on Filecoin. A lot of that is open public access data, from video recordings to the open music library, Internet Archive, many open public data sets from various different government bodies, New York Public Data, things along those lines. And so it's a great opportunity to build the tools that these communities are going to need to interact with and continue onboarding their data more usefully. Bacalhau and Lilypad are perfect things to build on if you're excited about compute and the whole massive AI wave that is taking off, where you can actually run compute networks triggered by smart contracts in FVM, and harnessing Bacalhau to run all of those compute nodes. If you are an expert in thinking about how to incentivize computation and maybe do a useful proof of work around compute, please come talk to me. We definitely have ideas and would love to share. I mentioned interplanetary consensus. This is the kind of L2 sharding system that Filecoin has been developing. It allows you to create a hierarchical chain of compute, of layer 2 networks, or subnets, as we've been calling them. And we actually already have a 1-second test net subnet of IPC that is running right now that you can build your own subnet and get up and started. Or you can start utilizing SpaceNet, which is the net they have up and running. And the concept with these is that not only can you create subnets on subnets hierarchically, but you can actually also regionally define these networks. So you could end up with a North America versus Europe versus Asia subnet, or West Coast, East Coast, Texas, or whatever division of networks is going to enable you to have really fast block times and fast performance within these subnets. And that team is actively working with folks that are building new subnets today. As we've mentioned, IPFS has a ton of different implementations. I think there's specifically a bounty for Helia, which is the new JavaScript IPFS implementation, which has enabled the deprecation of the old JS IPFS, so huzzah. But there's also a ton of other ones. There's Iro, Kubo, Estuary Boost, and 20 plus other IPFS implementations that you can harness within your applications, or build upon or iterate upon in order to make them better. For libp2p, I highly recommend checking out this great video from Max from the IPFS thing on connecting everything everywhere all at once, and this new connectivity demo that they created. I think they'll be reprising it later in HackFS, but it enables you to do browser to browser, peer-to-peer collaboration, browser to laptop, laptop to mobile phone, et cetera, all within the browser, all utilizing libp2p for that direct peer-to-peer networking communication. So very exciting. Definitely seems like a very exciting opportunity for folks that maybe want to think about service worker gateways, or better offline peer-to-peer collaboration within a variety of devices and modalities. And this seems very exciting to, for example, grab some old IPFS demos that have existed long before, port them into this new area, and then build on them. Things like, using a browser tab to share content peer-to-peer over IPFS, or things along those lines. There's some cool things with PeerPad that you might go in and look up from before and get running in these new applications. I'd mentioned Saturn and IPNI, but these are really useful tools for indexing and retrieving data quickly from both IPFS and Filecoin nodes. And so there's both Kubo and Lotus and Boost and other nodes. They're all IPFS nodes, but there's a very easy getting started guide to jump up and run with these networks if you want to enable fast retrievals. There's Polybase, which enables you to have this database layer that can understand wallets, tokens, and ZK proofs. You can absolutely utilize tooling like NFT.storage, Web3.storage, Filecoin data tools, and more as a fast storage on-ramp for whatever your use case of choice is. And you can even utilize the big data exchange if you're working with big data and big data communities to actually have a two-sided marketplace where you're both charging clients for the storage of their data and charging SPs for storage providers for access to those large, valuable public data sets. Of course, Huddle, also one of the sponsors of this event, but doing some awesome work with kind of like peer-to-peer media infrastructure and making sure that you can have great video communication. I think they also have some awesome integrations with LivePeer if you want to do live streaming within peer-to-peer video calls. And so some really useful tools if you're excited about having a video-centric application. For LivePeer, really useful focus around social networks and decentralized social. So thinking about LivePeer integrations into things like Blue Sky, or thinking about content moderation for how you can do decentralized video streaming or other decentralized social applications. And it's really awesome to see this like open social map continuing to get filled out. So if you're excited about potentially building social applications on top of LivePeer, Huddle, Filecoin, FVM, and maybe utilizing some of these retrieval tools, like, you're getting the components that you need to start making faster and faster social applications that can also handle, larger scale video storage, potentially like the YouTubes and Twitches of the world. It would be really cool to see someone go and build in that direction. And of course, Lighthouse, definitely a go-to tool if you're looking for really quick and easy perpetual file storage, and also a great exemplar to look at in terms of making sure that that is available across many different chains and bringing that ease of access to things like Polygon and elsewhere so that they can all store their data on Filecoin. And last but not least, check out Fission's Odd SDK. It's an amazing new SDK that you can utilize for local first edge computing. They also have some really, really useful combinations of things like UCANs, DIDs, IPFS, and a great way with getting started building applications that are private and secure by default. All right. So if that didn't spark your interest and you're still like, I feel like there's 10,000 things I need to learn and I'm a little overwhelmed by the number of things being listed, I would love to recommend a couple of learning opportunities that might be relevant now, but might be relevant in the future once you've hacked your way through HackFS and want to dive even deeper into all that the PL network has to offer. We run an onboarding program for all members of the PL network. So anyone who's building amazing applications that push the space forward, has received investment from PL Ventures, or is an otherwise amazing proponent of this space. We offer a 4-week onboarding program to help train and develop and connect all of the amazing talent in this space so that you have mentors, you have access to critical stakeholders, and you have the knowledge you need to be really, really successful within this community. We actually have an open source curriculum, curriculum.pl-launchpad.io, I believe, that you can go and review even as you're getting started right now, if you find that useful. And definitely get in touch with me if you're excited to attend. We have I think it's $500 for attending the virtual program. And then if you want to attend our quarterly Launchpad Summit, we have those once every quarter in a different part of the world, which I'm getting ahead of myself. You should definitely come to those as well. We have content within Launchpad for all sorts of different, contributors, whether that's builders who are wanting to make sure they have the hands-on hacking experience, product managers who want to understand how to get stuff done in an async remote distributed environment, folks who want to know the fundamentals of how all of the different protocols and dev tools within this space work and how the Web3 landscape itself lines up. And then also how Web3's evolved over time, and how you can harness the basics of blockchain, cryptography, decentralization, et cetera. And so our next Launchpad Summit, as I mentioned, is coming up next month in July 17th through 21st in Paris, over top of EthCC. We just published a blog post on this. So if you have attended Launchpad, we would love to see you there. If you are excited to learn more about it, you can kick off your Launchpad experience by attending the Launchpad Summit and then joining a future cohort later this year. And so you can grab the QR code here if you want to learn more about it. But I also hope to see many of the hackers there. It's going to be an amazing gathering point for the whole PL Network community and Web3 community. So that's it from me. Thank you so much. Happy building. Feel free to send me a DM with all of the cool things that you're building on. And I'm very, very excited to judge all of your amazing hacks in a couple of weeks. I cannot wait.
Awesome. Thanks, Molly. This was a great overview, and I'm sure we'll be blown away in a couple of weeks with something incredible that'll come out, because this has happened for 3 years in a row. I'm sure this will happen again.
100%.
Well, thank you so much. And with that, we are ready for our next amazing summit talk. So without further ado, I'd like to bring on Sarah to talk about what the FVM is and how it works and what's next and everything else you need to know about the Filecoin Virtual Machine. So please welcome Sarah.
Thank you, Karthik. Hey, everyone. Good to meet all of you. Dialing in over here from East Seoul. So if any of you are here in East Seoul and you're staying up to watch this, welcome. Hi. Also, hi to everyone from around the world. I think we've seen each other probably a few times now if you've been following the ETH Global Hackathons. My team is the developer advocate team for FVM, the Filecoin Virtual Machine. And we've been to multiple ETH Global hackathons now. Denver was a really big one that just went by, and we'll be in Paris as well. So looking forward to meet all of you. I thought through today for HackFS, and we're super excited for HackFS because it is the first hackathon that FVM is going into that combines with all the other protocol labs teams that have provided great infra and products and putting it all together in a hackathon. So we've been holding FVM specific hackathons for a while now, and we've been doing a lot of these tutorials and documentations and presentations. And I was thinking, what's kind of new that we can share. I think we've come to a point where we actually launched 2.5 months ago now, and a lot of things have progressed since then. There's a lot of new things that we very quickly shipped right after launch when we realized these are things that developers are asking for, and we also have a lot more new things coming up as well. So it kind of feels like we're going right into our next phase, and super excited to be able to share that with everyone. Yeah. So I'll cover today Filecoin Virtual Machine, what, why, and what next. I might be a little bit more summarized on the what and the why, just because we've gone through that with a few presentations and we have resources to share that with you. So I'm going to spend a little bit more time on what's coming up next and get everyone really excited on what they can build with us for the next month. Oh, also a quick shout out. If you have not followed us yet, do follow us on the FVM Dev Twitter account. We give updates. My teammate Matt has been amazing in building up our socials, and he gives a lot of great updates about our product as we go along. So stay tuned there. He's also doing interviews with hackers on site. So really, really fun stuff. And we have a Twitch stream, which is the Phil Builder stream. So just a shout out that every Thursday, except for during a large hackathon like that, where everyone is in the middle of the hackathon workshops. But every Thursday, we do try to keep to a schedule where we live demo and break things. Mostly it's me breaking and Matt fixing, but you can see us try out new things and bring on new partners and hackers as well. And, if you submit for the hackathon, you could also be one of the guests for the session. Cool. So I'm going to cover what the FVM is. I've also added a link over there. I know it's a little bit summarized, but let me run through it. And I also have a QR code over there if you want to go deep dive into a little bit more of an explanation for a talk that I did at ETH Tokyo recently on what the FVM is. So I have been getting a lot of questions from developers, can you clarify what the FVM actually is? So I thought to put out some key points here that we have been answering to developers so far, and I hope this really helps to clarify it for everyone. So the FVM is a runtime environment for smart contracts on Filecoin. It sits on top of the Filecoin network. It is a feature of the Filecoin network. It is not a separate product on its own. It is a layer 1 on top of Filecoin, which is a layer 0. It is also fully EVM compatible. So we have a fully feature complete Ethereum JSON RPC API, and that is how the FVM is fully EVM compatible today. So all the tools that you are super used and familiar with using as an EVM developer can be used for the FVM as well. So things like Hardhat, Foundry, we actually just put out a Foundry starter kit, so that's really cool from my teammate Zach. MetaMask, yeah. Using your OX address, you barely have to even think about what the conversion of the address would look like into Filecoin, for example. So all these things are things that we've figured out on the back end. So for you, it should be super seamless to use all the tools that you are familiar with. FVM as a whole is also intended to be VM agnostic. So today, the first foreign runtime for the FVM that we are focusing on is EVM, because clearly the Ethereum community is just super robust and is super exciting ideas and developers in that space. And so we wanted to provision that first. And so we have the EVM today. But tomorrow it could be something else, and we're hoping to build out or build with builders as well to help us build more VMs that can be compatible with other chains as well. We are also live on mainnet since March 14, 2023. So if you took part in that event, it was Pi Day. It was super fun and exciting. Great if you joined us on that day, and super easy to remember the date as well. So kind of looking back, a lot has happened. A lot is on this slide. I kind of want to go through it. I just want to take a moment to kind of think through it. The last time I think I was on ETH Global TV was back in November with Hack FEVM. That was like the first FVM specific hackathon that we had, or the first hackathon that FVM was going into. And it was super hacky. We had a lot of developers gave us really good feedback. We were very aware that we were putting out a product that was almost fully complete, but not really. And there were features that we wanted to test with developers, and we got really, really good feedback then. But we have come such a long way since then. And since launch itself, a lot also has happened since the Pi Day that we launched to mainnet. So some things that have happened, adoption has gone up. We have about 2.9 mil fill today in total contract balance on Filecoin mainnet. And we have about 175K transactions that have taken place so far. And we also have about 1.1K unique contracts deployed to date, coming from about close to 200 unique deployer addresses. That's amazing, right? And we really want to thank everyone that has been deploying to mainnet, working with us, our early builders. It's just super exciting right now. If you want to check out these stats, they are from our Starboard, our partner Starboard, the FVM Starboard Explorer. So you can actually head over to that Explorer and look at these contract analysis and kind of see how the FVM is doing if you are curious to see how the statistics are tracking week on week. Things that we've shipped, we have about 10 dApp integration partners, and we have many more partners as well, of course, but during this hackathon, I know this is of interest to everyone. These are also coming back around. You see them as sponsors during this hackathon. We've integrated these partners to come on board to mainnet, and as well as to provide support for testnet, so that it gives you a richer dApp development experience with FVM. We've shipped new features on our block explorers, including contract verification and smart contract analysis. So again, thank you to all our great Explorer partners out there, and many more that are in development right now. We're hoping to really build a much richer ecosystem around the smart contract space on Filecoin. We have the FVM Foundry and DataDAO starter kit that we've pushed out since launch. So that should really help developers with getting a template to start moving along. And we've also gotten a Docker image for Lotus and Boost, making it super easy to set up storage and retrieval on a local net, so that you can keep testing before you put it to testnet and so on. So that has made it much faster for people to adopt FVM and test out our client contract for storage. So kudos to that was shipped out as well. We've also transitioned testnet from hyperspace to calibration. So if you haven't seen the message on the Slack channels or on our Twitter, just a heads up, we have deprecated the previous testnet the good old trusty hyperspace testnet that we've been using since back in November. And now we are transitioning over to calibration testnet, which very much mimics the main net, the Filecoin mainnet as well. The goal of this was really to allow developers to simulate what mainnet conditions would be like and be able to test all these what you would consider experimental features with FVM on your dApp solutions to make sure it works in a production environment first. And then once it deploys to mainnet, it should work seamlessly because we worked in calibration net, and that's why we have moved over. So a lot more documentation and tutorials that will be coming up in the workshops, but there are some slight differences between the two testnets over there. So a huge transition over there, migration, thanks to my team. And we have Redfill that has shipped, thanks to Glyph and Alex Wade, that has kind of put that, helped to ship that out and has been used by quite a few teams at this point. We've also had staking pools that launched, so that was super exciting. And we also have more cookbook resources that have come up over time for people to get ideas and get a better sense, or maybe kind of see what the FVM team is thinking about how you could use FVM itself. And I'll touch on that in a little bit. We've also had tremendous builder movement, builder momentum. We've had about 3 or so ETH partner hackathons and even more hackathons outside of that since the launch itself, which is just insane thinking about it because it's only been like 2.5 months. But we've had hundreds of FVM projects that have shipped, that have been submitted since then. So really seeing really strong interest there. And we've also had an FVM mainnet builder cohort where teams have shipped MVP solutions. We have about 27 of them that have also deployed to mainnet. Thanks so much to our cohort. You know, we, like myself and my DX team, were very, very close to this cohort. So thanks for everyone for participating and building with us for 6 months and trying out all these new features and giving us feedback and building out different tools with us for FVM. And now you can all use it in the hackathon. So this will all be in the hackathon cheat sheet. And some of these teams have also become partners as well, which is awesome. And then also from that amazing cohort, 40 of their smart contract templates have actually been uploaded to cookbook.dev, which is a smart contract hub that we've been working very closely to. So shout out to them as well. So that makes it even easier for you in this hackathon to adopt those templates and kind of try it out for yourself and see and build upon what other teams have done. So they walked so that we could run, which I don't know, which is just great. And we've also had about 20 teams that have progressed from being in a builder cohort, you know, going from hackathon to builder cohort to then being accepted into FVM focused accelerators. So we have some accelerator partners out there, OV, GPC, Longhash, and a few other accelerator partners as well that have not had fully FVM focused accelerator cohorts, but have taken in quite a significant number of FVM teams into their cohorts as well. So a lot of, like, if you think about it as a whole builder momentum, we're really excited to see all these great ideas come up from hackathons and then progress onwards to become really sustainable products and solutions for themselves in the ecosystem. So yeah, just huge momentum since we launched 2.5 months ago, which is honestly kind of insane. So you have no excuse in a month to build something really cool. All right. Okay, so why FVM? So now we're going to touch on the why. Again, if you're interested to read more of a deep dive, there's a QR code over there that you can watch the talk on, and I can go a little bit deeper into where FVM stands in the Filecoin master plan, why it came in, why the Filecoin network needs it, and so on. But to summarize, the FVM is meant to bring on-chain programmability to the Filecoin network and achieve step number 3 in the Filecoin master plan. So for those of you who have been in the Filecoin ecosystem, this is a test for you. What is the Filecoin master plan? Well, very simply, the first one was to set up a storage provider network and a decentralized storage network. The second one is to onboard important data onto the network. And the last one would be to compute that data. And that is where the FVM comes in. So we are really here to achieve step 3 in the Filecoin master plan. It's really exciting stuff because it's only up from here. And then to break that down a little bit, because I do get questions around what does on-chain programmability mean? To us, that means to enable custom logic to be written around storage and retrieval workflows. Again, Filecoin is fully focused on storage and retrieval. And so what you can, there's a ton that you can do with all this data, right? You could write, you could decide how you want those workflows to be automated or to be event-driven. It's up to you. So that's what the FVM is really meant to do. And we think that because data is so important in today's world, that can unlock a lot of opportunities for developers and different solutions out there. And then also, I always get the question around why use FVM that is EVM compatible rather than just using EVM alone. Well, the main point here is that it will enable custom logic and storage capabilities to be in a native environment, right? Rather than you writing your EVM smart contract and then writing to a separate storage platform, which you might not have much control over, you can actually be able to customize it as much as you want and have everything within a native environment, which makes a huge difference when you actually deploy or implement your application, because then it leads to like a significant improvement in terms of performance, in terms of cost, and so on. So that is really the key point as to why moving on to FVM, especially for storage-focused use cases, would be super great to use with EVM, rather than just EVM alone. And lastly, to enable layer 2 storage-focused solutions to be developed at web scale. This is really the vision that we have. If you think about Web 2 and what, for example, AWS allows today, that's what we hope to be able to do with a ton of data and being able to compute that data as well. Okay, so that's kind of the TLDR on why. So now we've covered the what and the why, and we're gonna kind of talk about what next. So today I was at ETH Seoul, and I had a hacker come up to me, and yeah, a friend that came out and asked me like, kind of want to know what actually does FVM solve. So I'm gonna go a little bit into that and touch on 2 areas that we are thinking about very deeply these few days. So for us, there are a few resources over here where you can see how we're thinking about it. We have 3 key resources over here, and these will be in the hackathon cheat sheet. You can check them out for ideas. I've shared some of them into the Discord so far. And I can keep sharing or answering questions. We have a lot of mentors to help you out here. But 3 key resources, one would be data plus FVM over here as the first one. So that will go deep into things like programmable storage markets, data DAOs. If you're really focused on the storage component of your solution, what can you build with FVM today? So that goes super deep into that. And then we have a solutions list, which is kind of the current ideas that we have and the workflows that we're thinking around how we can use FVM. These kind of go across the board in many different ways. So it's not a dumping list, but we have a lot of different ideas about how you can build with FVM, and we write out detailed workflows that you can go expand on and build for your projects. And then lastly, we have an even broader and more high-level categories of what you could possibly build with FVM. So that will be our request for startups resource, which some of you might be familiar with. It's been around for a while, but these are really broad ideas on what we think people can grow in that space. So do check all these resources out, from super deep to super high level, and see where you and your team want to build in. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna go a little bit, double click a little bit into 2 areas. One would be programmable storage markets, and one would be data DAOs. And the reason why I want to double click into these is because I think that these are really areas that is where FVM really shines, right? So if you're thinking about using FVM, having a storage focus is going to make your app have that unique value prop. So I'm going to touch a little bit on this. On programmable storage markets, there are a few basic building blocks over here. This is within the data plus FVM resource that I just shared earlier on. I'm going to walk through them and then kind of get your brain juices flowing around these, right? So around building blocks, you can think about FVM being able to enable storage deal creation on the Filecoin network. So before the FVM was introduced, storage deal creation was something that developers themselves wouldn't really interact with. You wouldn't actually really interact with the Filecoin protocol as well. And if you wanted to run this process on your own, it does require a lot of steps, and it does require a lot of deep technical understanding. The process is, well, TLDR, pretty long, right? So with storage deal creation, with FVM, it allows a storage deal to be proposed maybe automatically, or maybe you could key in your parameters and set it to be event-driven, and it can actually propose a storage deal to the storage providers using a smart contract. And once that whole process is completed, with the smart contract doing it for you, it can actually generate a deal ID and return it to your application or to the user, to the client themselves. So storage deal creation and automating that process is a big building block that we hope to see more of in projects. The other one that we're interested in is data replication. So yes, you store your data once, but again, it's a huge decentralized storage network. You might not just want to store with one storage provider. You might want to replicate your data across a few storage providers, because if one drops, then at least you have a few backups, right? So the ability to replicate a piece of data X number of times, depending on how many you need, across storage providers that you trust, or whoever it is that you choose to select, is going to be super important as well. So we're interested to see how you could use FVM to interact with the protocol, know that maybe a storage deal has only been replicated like twice and you want it more, and how can it automatically replicate that for you. So that's another basic building block that we're interested in seeing. Storage provider selection, being able to select storage providers that for example, GDPR policies that you want to meet. How can you be able to automatically select storage providers that are in a certain geography that you want to work with, or maybe fulfill certain criteria that you have, and allow you to make the storage deal even faster. Again, these are all composable, so it could be a solution that even includes the first three things that I talked about. Yeah, so think about how you could build like maybe a huge dashboard that can do something like that, or a platform that is, really an enhanced programmable storage platform. And then really quickly, we have storage deal renewal. Again, knowing that your deal is almost close to expiry, and how can you renew that automatically? These are also things to think about. Aggregation, thinking about how you could have, like, let's say, so today on the Filecoin network, there is a certain capacity of storage, that a certain data size that would be more attractive for storage providers to accept your deal proposal for. So if you have a smaller piece of data, it would need to be aggregated into a larger deal size first before you can propose it and have storage providers to pick that up. Now, what happens if you want to retrieve your one piece of data out of 100 pieces of data, and then return it to your client, or you want to just renew for that specific piece of data? So these are things to think about when it comes to aggregation, and we see that as a huge opportunity in the programmable market space, because users come with all kinds of data sizes, and we want to be able to have solutions for that. Yeah, so think about Filecoin today with a storage provider network being like this huge infrastructure, and being like a factory warehouse, whereas like when we have aggregation, it's like kind of like the reseller and the retailer in the middle that is able to provide that service. So we kind of want to see a lot more in the aggregation space. And then I will go a little bit into data DAOs in the next slides, but before that I want to show a quick example of what it can mean to have a storage market. So I'm just taking an example as take it as one of your alumni from a previous hackathon. This is the Data House project. They actually built a really cool all-in-one solution that incorporated different building blocks that I mentioned earlier. Of course, back then the tech was a little bit different, so there were certain things they couldn't include, but they built an all-in-one storage platform over here, and that was actually a really powerful platform. So you could think about examples like that. And then moving on to data DAOs, this is also in Data plus FVM and has more of a write-up, but I get a lot of questions around what do you mean by data DAOs, right? So really quickly, a data DAO is a DAO as we know it, that is focused on a very important data set. So you have like a really large data set that you want to be able to manage, renew, persist, be perpetually stored, control access to, so you can do many different things with that DAOs. So we've actually lent a lot of thinking. Our product team has done a great job of providing more of a guidance or a framework to think about data DAOs. So if you think about it as a layer 2, which is the base, a layer 1, which is the base, which would be persistent and perpetual storage, kind of similar to what I spoke about for programmable storage market earlier on. So you could take those composable building blocks and put it into a data DAO to make sure that that important data set can be renewed and replicated and so on. And then you have a layer 2 on top of that, which you can think about governance and incentivization, either through providing tokens that people can earn as incentives, or just to fuel like a different action within the DAO, or it could be tokens to use for governance to then decide how the data is going to be managed, or it could be an endowment fund that could continuously fund the renewal of your data. So a lot more thinking in that space, and I know this is something that people have asked for since previous hackathons, and they want to see it's a very new concept, right? And so this is something that is very unique to FVM, and I think if you build a product or a solution here, it's going to have a huge market space, and it's going to be very, very different in the market. So we're very interested to see data DAOs be built. And then really quickly, I want to show an example of a data DAO. Again, from an early builder that has been just fantastic. She's also now a mentor, which is great. So this was actually SPN DAO, formerly known as Spend DAO, and now it's called Dallin. It was from the Hack FEVM hackathon way back, and they actually had this really cool example of taking people's credit card data and putting it into, contributing it into a data set as part of a DAO, and then providing access control on top of the data set, so that maybe companies and marketing companies that want to access your data could then pay the DAO's endowment fund to access that data, and then the users could get directly paid for their data as well. So that's a really good example of a data DAO in a real world scenario. So these are things that you can think about for examples of how you want to build, like how you're going to solve real world problems with a data DAO. Cool. So kind of giving you a little bit of an idea there on things that are unique to FVM. And of course, you can build almost anything that you want with FVM, especially anything to do with data. To have a rich dApp environment, we've actually onboarded and integrated a lot of partners over here. So Again, I realize this looks like a trivia board of you to guess what partners these are. Shout it on the chat if you know them, so you can help shout them out, because I didn't put the titles in here. But they are mostly sponsors, and they all have integrated with FVM, and you can use them within your solution as well. So it makes for a much richer dev ecosystem, and many more of these partner integrations are going to be coming out very soon. Okay, and then lastly, what's next for FVM? A lot of things, but I think clearly from the product side, things that we are super interested in right now is working on proof of data segment inclusion. We call it PODSI. What it actually refers to is, remember how I talked about if you have a small data piece within a larger aggregated data deal, how are you able to prove that your small piece of data has been stored? And how do you know where your data is? How are you able to pull it out to then renew in a separate deal and do whatever you want with it, but know where it is within that larger segment? So PODSI is one big thing we're thinking about. Decentralized aggregated dev tools, we're super interested to see developers, and maybe even in this hackathon, build your own decentralized aggregator. We have a few centralized aggregators today that allow developers or clients to upload their small data, but we would love to see people build their own and think about decentralized solutions for this as well. And then we're also thinking of building more stars and more dev tooling, and maybe some platforms as well on our end for replication, repair, renewal of your data. FVM as a whole, and not pertaining to the EVM compatible FVM, but we're also planning on scoping out for native WASM actors to be built. So that would be a whole different type of FVM, and more to come on that. We're also working on a lot more partner integrations to come in. We hear your ask for gasless transactions and so on. So looking to build some of those partnerships and integrate more for a richer dev experience. Some of them might come in during the hackathon. We don't know. We hope to bring those in and maybe help you along this month-long hack. And then lastly, more dev tooling from the DX team to help you with more docs, tutorials, and so on. So a lot more is coming up for FVM. Super excited. We moved, as you can see, in 2.5 months. So many things have happened. More can happen during the hackathon. So definitely keep an eye out and keep talking to us in the Discord channel. Cool. And then where should you begin? This is a really simple QR code. Everything that I talked about should be in here. We have docs, a hackathon cheat sheet that's super easy to use, more ideas and grants and hackathons coming up as well. For HackFS, do look out for the storage and retrieval series that's coming up. So my colleague Matt, as well as Hong Hao and Lung Fei will be covering a 3-part series on storage and retrieval. They will go deeper into the tools and tutorials and demos on how you can build some of the programmable storage market components that I talked about earlier on, so that you can use it within your project. So this should happen within next week. And then applications to build with FVM, we have, my colleague Zach has built up quite a few starter kits that you could use as templates. So he'll be covering that coming Monday as well. So you could see how what starter kit you want to fork to then build your project from there. Okay, and then that's it for me. That was a lot. I mean, I tried to make it simple, but it's still a lot of things because super exciting things are happening with FVM. But again, thank you from the whole team, as well as really close partners that we work with. Again, this is like, and it's not just everyone on this page, it's way more people. But again, thank you so much for building with FVM.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Sarah. That was a really awesome overview, and love the referencing of all the things that have actually happened and giving us a historic timeline of series of events.
Yeah, thanks for doing it with us. Yeah, this is great.
Thanks for doing this thing super late in Korea.
Yeah.
All right. Well, appreciate this. And with this, we are ready for our next talk. So without further ado, I'd like to bring up Adi and Matt on stage here, and both of them are going to be here talking about all the things that you can actually do in terms of how you can best leverage all the tracks that we have going on and all the amazing ideas that you can build from a repository of things that we've already set up here to really make the next 2.5 weeks super amazing. So welcome, Matt and Adi, and I'll let you all get started.
Fantastic. Thanks very much. Yeah, so my name's Matt Hamilton. I'm a developer advocate with Protocol Labs, specifically working on Filecoin and the FVM. And here I've got Adi, if you want to introduce yourself as well, Adi.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm Adi Shadam. I'm the product lead for FVM. So you'll see me a lot working with Hong Hao, Kevin, and a bunch of the DX team, including Matt.
Oh, so the point of this talk is to quickly talk about the various tracks, some of the project ideas that we've got, some of the bounties, and also touch upon some of the bounties, not just on regarding FVM, which is the largest bounty here, but also some of the other related Protocol Labs technologies and bounties as well. Because one of the great things about hackathons is you can experiment, right? That's what they're all about. It's about experimentation, it's about learning, it's about building things. And there's a whole bunch of different technologies, both from within Protocol Labs and within Protocol Labs network and wider field, that are a part of this hackathon. So we'd love you to get involved and put together these solutions, these ideas, these projects, these hackathon entries, using all of these different technologies, and see where you end up. So first of all, starting with FVM, Filecoin Virtual Machine, we have $22,000 US dollars in prizes available specifically for FVM. So Sarah has just talked about FVM, so hopefully you have a good idea about what FVM is. It allows programmability on top of the Filecoin Virtual Machine. And we have 3 grand prizes, $5,000 paid in fill for 3 teams for the grand prizes, plus 14 runner-up projects of $500 worth of fill each. So the categories that we have set out here, if you've been involved in some of our other hackathons, you might recognize these. We've slightly tweaked them a little bit as we've been going on from feedback from the hackathons that we've had so far. But breaking it down, we have data DAOs. So you will have just heard Sarah talk a little bit about data DAOs. So the idea about having a decentralized autonomous organization that has some involvement with storing data, right? So examples might be industry specific for things like decentralized science, machine learning, or things like, a film show or exhibition, or film festival or something like that might want to store things. I'm going to go through each of these, and then we'll switch over. I've got a tab of some FVM starter ideas, and we can go into a bit more detail on them, and then I'll come back and also talk about some of the other bounties we have available here. So DeFi, best DeFi tools on FVM. So just like other blockchains, other EVM blockchains, you can build DeFi, decentralized finance, on top. What is unique about FVM and unique about Filecoin is you have the whole storage provider ecosystem underneath that. So you have 3,500 storage provider systems on the network. They're all providing storage capacity to the network, right? So something in the region of about 12, 13 exabytes of data on the network. So this is all backed by physical storage systems, hard drives, SSDs around the world storing data. So you can build that, you can use that capability as part of a DeFi system. So it might be lending to storage providers. It might be allowing storage providers to borrow based upon future revenue that they can prove through the blockchain. If they take on a storage deal, they'll be paid over time for that storage deal. They can actually use that a bit like invoice factoring within traditional finance. So that's kind of where DeFi comes in. The next is tools, infra, and bridging. So this is an opportunity to bridge with other networks and other systems as well, and bring in some of their functionality. So things like decentralized ID, access control, for example, from some of the other blockchains, and also allows you to export the functionality of Filecoin out onto other networks. So using bridges and oracles and things like that as well. So bridges like Axelar, for example, oracles like Teller on the network, you can use those to export functionality out to other networks. Programmable storage markets. So this is regarding, like we said, storage. We've got the storage providers. Storage deals generally have a finite lifetime on the network. So programmable storage is building things like auto-renewing storage, auto-replicating storage, bounties for storage, optimizing storage sectors, right? The way in which storage is stored on the network. There might be a way in which you could optimize the way in which deals are aggregated together, for example. So let's do with that. And then deweb it. So basically looking at current web services and applications into more open, secure and resilient sort of Web3 based, decentralized based systems using some of the other technologies within Protocol Labs as well. Hopefully that covers it. Did you want to say anything, Adi, at this point, or shall I switch over to the starter ideas?
No, that sounds great.
Okay, so we've got a series of starter ideas here, and they're linked to from the bottom of the prizes. If you go down here, there's under inspiration, you'll see list of starter ideas. So that's what we've got here. And we've got a number of ideas here that you can kind of go through. So things like repair as a service, like we mentioned. For example, you store data is stored in the way of storage deals on the network between a client and a storage provider. And you might want to have that replicated multiple times for resilience using something like replication as a storage. But you could use repair as a storage to potentially automatically detect that data might not be stored to the level of replication you need, or might have some fault with it, and that you can automatically repair or replicate that. So that's those two kind of top ones there. Renewal as a service, you can, like I said, storage deals run for a certain lifetime, so you might want to have something that automatically renews the storage deal at the end of the lifetime as well. Building off-chain storage deals, so the Filecoin network is built extremely flexibly, and it leaves a lot of how the actual storage deal is negotiated up to the users. Right, so it doesn't all happen on chain. A lot of it is left to happen off chain, and then you can, once the deal is negotiated and agreed, that then is published on chain, and it's then the blockchain's responsibility to query the storage providers to ensure that the data is stored. So there may be things that you want to do around how data is kind of aggregated, and how those storage deals are actually built before they're passed to storage providers. Calling as a service. So this might be using things like cron jobs to regularly call functions on the FEM on the Filecoin network. So you might have something that needs to run periodically. So something like this could be very useful. Endowment managers. So again, you might have something that takes in a pool of fill and invests it on behalf of the users. So it might use something like Glyph that have a thing called Infinity Pool, which is one of the staking solutions. There's another Philae, for example, is another one that does staking. So you might have something that aggregates funds together and invests that on behalf of the users, and uses the return of that investment to then fund storage, for example. Things like renewable energy certificates, so native renewable energy certificates, storing those on the network, and that's part of like Filecoin Green as well. As part of that, that's a service that we have. So things that deal with that would certainly be of interest. Zero knowledge proofs. So the FEM is the largest production use, I believe, of zero knowledge proofs at the moment. And there's a lot of other things you can build on top of that as well. So, and there's a link there to more information about that. Sustainability, Filecoin Green have a project called CO2 storage. And there are ideas that you might want to build upon that. Again, there's links to some of those ideas around energy validation, for example, certificates, credits, that kind of thing as well. Retrieve.org, this is a project that I believe is from Saturn. I think it's Adi, or related to Saturn. And so this allows retrieval, like a retrieval oracle and retrieval assurances on the network. So this could be something that could check the network and ensure that stuff can be retrieved from the partners on there. IPC is the Interplanetary Consensus. So this is a project within Protocol Labs to work on the next generation of consensus mechanism that will take Filecoin scaling up to millions of transactions per second, and is going to be looking at using horizontal scalability with subnets, and you can have different subnets that allow you to run specific functionality on these subnets. So there's a number of ideas around how you could have a wallet that could run on different subnets, for example, how you can have things like EigenLayer for subnets. We've got multi-wallet subnets in there twice, I think. In there's a few in there. Visualizers, explorers, all these kind of things that kind of fit in with how IPC works there. On-chain storage deals, we've mentioned that. Data DAOs, we've talked about that. There's a bunch of ideas around data DAOs, incentivization, that kind of thing. IPNI Disputer. So IPNI is the Interplanetary Networking Index. It is the system that allows you to register when a system stores a content ID, a CID, it can register it with IPNI to allow people to find it. And there's some ideas around how you can ensure the integrity of that index and what people are reporting. So, ideas a bit like oracles, for example, incentivization for valid response or penalization for invalid stuff. And then finally, ideas around soul-bound tokens, again, for sustainability claims for storage providers. So a storage provider might say, hey, we have 100% renewable energy for our storage system. Well, how can you both prove that, and how can you then allow people to access that information and maybe programmatically then build on top of that? So I might have a system that says it's automatically only going to make storage deals against storage providers that can prove a certain level of sustainability, for example. So that might be something they do there. How was that, Addy? Was there anything else to kind of chime in on there?
Yeah, I would say one thing. Thanks for going through that, Matt. One thing is that we have a couple of workshops next week around a couple of the programmable storage market ideas that might be worthwhile going to and talking to people about. If you scroll to the right of this table, there's folks inside PL and FVM that are happy to talk to you about these ideas and want to learn more about how you want to tackle them. We have resources that we've linked to so that you can attempt to brainstorm or learn more about these concepts and what underpins them, and keep your eyes peeled. The workshops are going to definitely drive more content, more material your way that'll help you figure out how and what to build in those particular categories. So June 8th and parts of next week are going to be critical for that. So
yeah, is June 8th Monday? I can't remember if June 8th is that Monday 2nd? No, it's a bit later than that, I think. Yeah, there's also some workshops. If you go to the ETH Global site and look through the schedule, there's also a series of workshops on Monday. So I'll be doing a workshop on on building there. My colleague Zach will be doing a workshop, I believe, as well. So there's a number of workshops as well. So keep an eye on the schedule there. Now, just to quickly kind of cover as well, there's a number of other projects as well within Protocol Labs also have bounties. So, for example, just quickly touching on a few of these, Bacchiao, which is a compute over data platform. So they have a prize pool as well, and some examples there of projects around decentralized compute. Filecoin Saturn is a decentralized content delivery network, and they have a prize pool there as well regarding applications that build upon their decentralized distribution network. Interplanetary Consensus, I just mentioned that. That is a scalability, horizontal scalability for Filecoin, and they have some prizes there as well. IPFS, of course, which is where all of this kind of started. So IPFS have some prizes there as well. So if you're using IPFS or you are, improving what's going on within IPFS, there's that there. libp2p, many people might not realize libp2p is a library that underpins a lot of these decentralized systems and even other networks as well. I believe, I think Ethereum 2 and Solana, I think both use libp2p underneath for how their nodes actually communicate with each other. So they actually have some prizes there as well. Just looking here within here for other PL ones. Oh, Filecoin Data Tools. Filecoin Data Tools, you might have heard of a project called Estuary, which is an aggregator. Filecoin Data Tools is the next generation of the tooling behind what will become Estuary version 2. And I will be doing some examples of some of that on Monday as well for how you can do aggregation from FVM. NFT storage and Web3 storage are also aggregators, also part of, or spun off from Protocol Labs as well. And they specifically work with, well, NFT storage, as the name might suggest, also specifically works with NFTs, but they have a bunch of prizes there as well. DRAND. So DRAND, distributed randomness. One last one from within PL. And so this is a randomness beacon on the network that allows you to access random numbers in a verifiable manner as well on the network. So this is a functionality that is often included or provided by tools like Chainlink, I believe, one of them, while DRAND is one that provides native verifiable randomness on the Filecoin network. So you can use that. So there you go. That's a quick rundown to hopefully give you some ideas of what to build. There is lots of prizes there. There's lots of projects there. You know, please feel free to build stuff that uses multiple different technologies, both from within Protocol Labs and within all of our partners there. If you go through there, there's a whole series of prizes there, a whole lot of partners there. So please feel free to kind of join these together. And I really look forward to seeing what you build. And I'm going to be hanging out in Discord as well as some of my colleagues from the DevRel team specifically. So Sarah, who you heard from just now, and also my colleague Zach. Like I said, we'll be doing some workshops next week as well. So keep in tune with that. Anything else to cover, Addy?
No, I think just have a lot of fun building. We're really excited to see what you guys create. And there's a lot of really cool things to build across PL and within FVM.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, thanks a lot, all. I think that's us.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Adi. This was really cool, and I kind of loved this being a work session and a talk and everything else, because this really is effectively going through everything line by line and talking about all the opportunities. So I really appreciate you taking the time and telling us about all the things people can do.
No problem.
All right. Well, thank you. And with that, we are ready for our next panel. So up next, I want to invite four amazing people here. We're going to be talking about everything on FVM from a builder's perspective. So we have Shanu, Natalie, and Kate talking about all the things that they're doing. And Nikki from Protocol Labs will be moderating this conversation. And we're going to cover all the things that all of you can look forward to as you're building with FVM. So Nikki, Shannon, Natalie, and Kate, welcome.
Hi.
All right, I'll let you kick it off and take it from here.
Nikki, I think your microphone is off.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
I'm back on. Sorry about that. I'm really excited to be here listening to all the talks since the summit started. And there's been a lot of talks about all the different technologies people can build on. So we're going to switch gears a little bit with this panel. And I hope, this panel becomes an inspiring session for you guys to go and build out projects. So hackathons are a great place to learn and try out different things and hack on ideas and build them out. But then there are also places where, bigger stories start. And this panel is to share some of these success stories. So I won't keep talking, and I will let all of you introduce yourself maybe and briefly share what your projects are about and what they do, what problems they solve. So maybe let's start with Kate.
Sure. Hi, I'm Kate Wong from STField Protocol. So STField is the first liquid staking protocol launched on FVM. We're live now since 12th of April. So what we're doing is to connect Filecoin token holder and storage provider by offering a decentralized staking experience and also leverage farming. So if you're a state storage provider, you can onboard your node on our platform, and then we will provide higher profitability. And if you're a token holder, we do not have a lock-in period, but you can stake your money in our protocol. So our APY is ranging from 10 to 20% now, based on the market-driven interest rate. So the interest is compounded every second. So it's solving the efficiency problem in Filecoin mining. So that for within just 6 weeks, we have more than 200,000 Filecoin stake already, and around 160 for the address stake already. And now we're joining the Online Ventures IPFS Space Camp cohort. And that's why we are here. And also, I'm really glad that we have this opportunity to talk with you guys. And please try out our protocol, sdfile.io. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, Natalie, maybe you can go next.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I would rather say actually that we don't just have a one project or just a project. Yeah, basically I would say we're a Filefox team. So I'm pretty sure since you guys are, you guys are building on FVM or you are protocol labs and stuff. Yeah, you know what that Filefox Explorer itself. Yeah, it's basically the most popular data service in the Filecoin ecosystem, right? And even if you go to the actual website, the first option would be Filefox actually, which I'm very proud of. And yeah, basically we provide the one-stop on-chain data display and aggregation services for the Filecoin users. The Filefox Explorer now fully supports FEVM, which can analyze data, for example, like contracts and event logs, right? And also opens the contract verification functions to the community. So Fox Wallet has, Fox Wallet. Oh my God, Filefox has just announced our roadmap actually, and we just sent it out to all our partners as well as on our Twitter. So you're more than welcome to have a look at it and stuff. So we're going to be kind of like, we'll try to actively work on Filefox because it's been, I think, almost 4 years of existence, right? But now we're going to be trying to kind of work very much as well on the social side there, kind of try to let our partners as well as Filecoin understand what we are doing there as well. Yeah, try to evolve as well in a lot of ways. As you might know, we also have other projects that we built as a Filefox team. So one of them is FNS Space or FNS DAO, which is basically a .fil domain name, which is not only a domain name, because you can actually control, or I would say, I like to say control, though it's more like, you can kind of register or give your .fil domain name to your miners as well through the Filefox. So that's a pretty cool thing, considering it's a domain name. Yeah, the other domain names, they don't really have this kind of function. So it's pretty cool. And I believe it's a very good thing for the Filecoin itself, ecosystem. And also, so FNS has actually been integrated by SFT, STFil, Kate, shout out there, as well as Filefox, Fox Wallet, and other partners as well. And as you might know, we also taken a big part in developing Fox Wallet itself, which has reached pretty good numbers as of now. So yeah, Filefox team here. Thank you so much.
Nice. Maybe Shanu, you can go next.
Yeah, super excited. So I'm co-founder and CTO at Link. And at Link, we are building GameFi infrastructure, allowing game developers to build their Web3 games in just a couple of minutes, integrating the Web3 aspects inside the game. So we are making blockchain gaming accessible for everyone, allowing game developers to ship fast, build fast, and even fail faster as well, without worrying about any blockchain complexities.
Cool stuff. And maybe let's segue into your journeys on building out products using FVM or in the Filecoin ecosystem, because I'm sure it's been a journey where you've been curious, maybe excited, then you started building something, then you are like stuck at some point, and then there's like, you're looking for support, looking out everywhere, maybe being part of hackathons or other builder programs, and then finally like you had the yes, it works moment, right? So maybe let's walk through your journeys and any of you, please.
Yes, I guess the builder journey is like super excited. I think the few things, the critical resources that can help us is like the familiarity with the Filecoin ecosystem. because some of our team members working around the Filecoin ecosystem for like 2 years, and then that makes us familiar with the FVM and also Filecoin ecosystem. And the second thing is like a close communication with the protocol labs and also Filecoin or Slack, because Slack is a good stuff that you can ask any question and you can get from reply easily. And the last thing is our cohesive and experienced team that we are bound together and then to work for something good. And also, one thing to thank you is the Online Ventures Basecamp that really helped a lot.
All right, let me dive in then. I would like to just say, like, absolutely agree with everything Kate has just mentioned, and probably I would add that for Phil Fox team, it was a bit sort of easier, at least recently, yeah, because we already had a big experience in building on Filecoin, yeah. So we're kind of like, we were already very familiar and understood all the like technical details, you know, of Filecoin very deep. But so, for example, building FNS was kind of like sort of easy in this way. So once we, for example, we participated in the hackathon in, I think it was December 2022, right? So it was kind of like probably easier in the way, but at the same time, you know, I'm personally a BD member, right? So I do business development. So there's a certain part of my job, you know, that where I kind of like getting involved, right? But when it comes to building, of course, I don't know as much. But what I do know, and the feedback that I got from the team was basically, is the most important thing is the obviously official documents. You know, there's always the white paper, there is always the docs there that you have to look at, you know, and as it was mentioned by Kate, like Slack, you know, so you have to always keep communicating, as well as networking, as well as understanding what's happening, all the updates and stuff, right? And, you know, so this way you can understand basically all the, you know, compatibility differences of the FVM in the quickest way possible, right? And stuff. And, you know, and generally, like at least from our experience, the FVM team as well as the ETH Global team, that was super helpful as well throughout the whole, like, let's say, hackathon building period as well. So it was pretty cool, you know, and obviously the whole team has to kind of like sync in together. And when one person is freaking out, the other one has got to be like, okay, I got to put this in my hands, and then the opposite. So that's how it was.
Yeah, I'll go next. So I have been a game developer. I'm a builder. So I am a developer. I love to build, and I'm I love building. I love coding. So what I do is I have been running a game studio for more than 5 years. I'm a game developer, and this entire journey started because in 2020, we have already built more than 60 plus games, hyper casual games. And in 2020, when we created our first Web3 game, we stuck upon a problem that infrastructure side of the Web3 stack is completely broken. And that's when it all started, because we created a Web2 game in just 1 week. But just to convert that Web2 game to Web3, it took us almost 2 months. And that's when we figured out resources are not available in the space at the moment. The complete infrastructure is completely broken. There is nothing, no information as such, which is available in the market. And we had $0 in our bank account. And when we started Link. So that's when we figured out the problem. We started working on the infrastructure side. We started fixing the problem. We started simplifying the blockchain stack for any game developer to create a Web3 game. And we have also participated in multiple hackathons, because I believe that hackathon is something that brings the best out of a team, a building team, a developer, or anything, because you have a deadline. You have only 48 hours. You have only 7 days to build a product and ship it out. And I also created a product till the last 2 minutes before I have to push it, and the deadline is about to end. So it brings the best out of a developer. It brings them out of a comfort zone, and it increases that hunger to build out the stuff that you wanted to build since a very long time, right? And the last hackathon that we participated was Veron Dapathon, and we won in the Mantle pool prize, and we created the NFT deployer working on top of Mantle. Then we have also been leveraging Filecoin ecosystem since a very long time. I think since more than a year now, because our stack is completely decentralized. So every in-game asset that is stored on IPFS is pinned with Filecoin. And when FEVM came, we have been leveraging FEVM as well with all our capacity, and how we can leverage the power of FEVM and Filecoin at all the possible ways. And we have also created the dynamic NFT standards in a Filecoin hackathon, which happened, I think, 6 months back. So like Hackathon has been a great game changer for us as well. And I believe that any builder out there must participate in hackathons.
Awesome. Cool. Maybe I can ask you the next question, Shanu, so you continue along the same line. So say when you go to hackathons, and you see like these 20 different projects, and all of them look like fun and exciting, right? And you are like, which one do I pick now? Like, how do I start? Like, what's that process like? And what advice would you give to the hackers at HackFS on, how to find their way, like what to pick?
So I've also seen multiple companies just built out of hackathon. They have just created a POC in the hackathon, and later on they have become a multi-billion-dollar company because that POC was something that was solving the real issues of the people. So I believe that once you are participating in hackathon, you have the hunger to solve a problem. Now that if I have an option to choose among 20 other projects that which one I should build, the first thing will be how many problem will I be able to solve with the product, whichever I go with. So if I'm going with one product that doesn't solve the problem, but it is super exciting to just like show it off with other people, then I would rather remove that out of my to-do list and choose something that actually solves the problem for multi-billion people. Not even multi-billion people, even if I'm solving the problem with 1,000 members, 1,000 people, I would be happy to do that. Because right now we have, like, for example, when we started, we don't had any game developers building on top of us because we were just trying to solve the entire tech stack for everybody out there. But now we have more than 100 plus game projects for building on top of Link. And when I look at those projects, it feels like, okay, now we have done something grateful for them, that they are able to leverage our tech and they are able to integrate the Web3 elements that took us almost 2 months to do. And they are able to do that in just 2 minutes. So that's one thing that I would look for, that if you're building something, look out for the problem that you are solving for the people. And hackathon is one of the best opportunity to do that out there.
Nice. Yeah, maybe Kate and Natalie, you can go next and just like, what's the advice you would give to hackers at HackFS?
Yeah, I'll say maybe two keywords. That one is pivot and another is confidence. Because from what at the beginning, we are running the FVM Open Hack Day, that we're not using SDView as the product because we pivot a little bit. At that time, SDView is a large product, but Hackathon is like a super short period of time, so that we just pivot, and the extra crucial part, this is called WFill, the web fill, and then that part will be easier for us to do, and we're more confident in do that. And with that part, we like submitting deadline is approaching next Monday. Then our team confirmed the plan on Tuesday, and interface on Wednesday, document on Thursday, and then video on Friday, and then submit it over the weekend. So it's super packed, and then it's require a lot of strong execution skills and also early planning, and also a complete team. So for a little bit advice or maybe a little bit further explore, I'll suggest that hackers can go to visit fvm.filecoin.io, that a part called What Does FVM Unlock? Because FVM is like a completely open playing field with unlimited opportunities. There's so many things that can think about. And also the workshop that we are having like today, and that will be help a lot.
Cool.
Of course, I would totally agree and totally sign up with everything that Shanu and Kate said. Yeah. So first of all, yeah, you gotta bring the value. Second, you gotta have the arrangement, the right arrangement. You know how the team works, and I guess it also proves a lot of like what kind of team you are and how, I wouldn't say maybe reliable you are in general, right? Because it's pretty important, right? So yeah, in terms of value, for example, what is important for us? Yeah, because we built FNS, which is a .fil domain name, right? So we were thinking, well, domain name, apart from like, because first of all, at that time, which was December 2022, right? It was the time when the domain names in general for like different chains and networks, they were like thriving, right? It was crazy. Everybody's super like hyped up and stuff. So it kind of like marketing wise and stuff, like it made a lot of sense. Second, generally domain names, they give you this branding. So this would give the Filecoin itself or FVM, yeah, the big branding itself, right? Because the more projects integrate .fil domain name, the more kind of visibility it brings to Filecoin itself, right? So that's one of the values that we saw. And the second one obviously was the fact that we also created the miner domain service as well through the Filefox. So it was like a whole kind of connection there. So that's what, you know, we saw in that. And so it was like a perfect combination there. And of course the arrangement, as I mentioned, yeah, like one person freaks out, another one goes like, okay, we gotta take over this, and then because what happened, for example, to us, so I'm the BD, right, but I was also kind of like I was taking care of the making the video and the presentation and stuff, you know, and there was like 300 recordings and stuff, you know, and I just only took care of that. And then when it came to actual presentation, which was at 3 a.m., I mean, for me, and I remember Steven, who is our main developer, he was like, I think I cannot do it. So I was like, okay, I'm going to take care of this, you know? So it was like a whole, you know, you got to take care of each other. And that's what is the beauty of it. But at the same time, it's important for the teams to understand, okay, if so what, we have each other's back. Yeah, we know how to, you know, help each other in a certain situation. Because it, you know, somebody is very good at, I don't know, building, somebody's good at speaking, somebody's good at whatever, you know, because it's a difficult kind of thing to do, right? You can have a fantastic project, but a lot of things also depend on how you kind of present it as well, you know. It's all, you know, it's the world. This is how humanity works. But anyway, that's what I would say. Yeah, super agree with everything Kate and Shanu have mentioned. So I kind of sum it all up.
Yeah, no, I think you touch upon like a couple of really important points that hackers often either don't think about, or at least in my conversations that I've had every time I've gone to an in-person hackathon, is like, even if you are an already existing big team, you can still go to a hackathon and build something out from scratch. And then you never know, like, you know, it becomes a part of your product later, or it gives you ideas and you get to explore tools that you might end up using in very different ways. And I think the second part that I really like is that, you know, you don't, I mean, yes, hackathons are great for developers, but then you also need a lot of other people to, you know, turn your projects into actual companies later. So hackathons are also a great place to find such people. So no matter whether you are not a developer, you'll meet developers at a hackathon, or if you are a developer, you'll meet other, you know, storytellers that you might meet at some point as you continue building out your project. So yeah, this was awesome. I loved hearing your stories. I hope hackers found inspiration in it too. And yeah, hope to see you guys again on some other panel someday.
Likewise.
Thank you so much.
Likewise. Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
I was going to say, well, Kate, Shanu, Natalie, thank you so much for that amazing discussion. And it was really good insights. And I think the takeaway is that kind of do something that you enjoy doing. And it's better to solve a problem for 100 people who really have something than 1,000 people that may have probably a problem. So focus on that, especially as you have limited time. And Nikki, thank you so much for facilitating that amazing conversation.
Thank you so much, Karthik.
All right, take care, everybody.
Bye.
Right, up next, I want to bring on Jacob from the Global team. He will be officially taking over for me for the rest of the summit and being the MC for the remaining talks for the day. So welcome, Jacob, and I'll let you take it from here.
Awesome. Thanks, Karthik. Cool. Well, thanks, everybody. Hope the summit's been going so well so far. I'm pretty excited for this next part of the summit. It's a bit of a transition. You kind of started with kind of learning about the hackathon and what's happening this week or in the next couple of weeks. Then you kind of learned from Sarah and Matt and Adi about, you know, how FVM works, what's going on. You just had Nikki and crew kind of chat about what it's like to build on the FVM. And now we're kind of moving into what's after. So I think one of the coolest things about HackFS is you get access to the amazing Protocol Labs network that exists to kind of help take your project that you build over the next couple of weeks from here to really anywhere that you can dream of. So wanted to kind of have these next 3 talks chat about what other availability, what other options there are for you after the event, and just kind of give you an overview of that ecosystem. So without further ado, I'll have Ruben join us, and Ruben's going to kind of do an intro to the Protocol Labs network and what it looks like to be a builder in that network. So I'll leave it over to Ruben to take away.
Amazing. Thank you, Jacob. Always great being here. Always great meeting the amazing hackers at HackFS. Yeah, so as Jacob said, I'm going to be talking about what's next, what's after HackFS, and how can you scale your idea with the Protocol Labs Founders Program. So we have been organizing these hackathons for quite a while now, and some with ETH Global and some with other partners. And over the years, we have learned a little bit about you. We have learned a little bit about you, the hackers that attend those programs. And one thing we have learned is that there are some in this audience today, some of you, that just want to play around with the technology. You want to test the boundaries of what's possible. This is maybe a weekend or a couple of weeks hack for you to create an interesting project and learn more about maybe a certain technology, and then you might want to step away. But we have also learned that there are some in this audience that are really keen on really shipping products. They're really keen on building something that lasts and that many thousands or even millions of users use and find useful in their daily lives. And what I'm presenting today is mainly delivered at that second group, the builders out there that want to bring real product to market. So what we understand about you is that you want to ship a product to millions of users. You want to disrupt a $300 billion data economy. So you're really tackling a massive market ripe for disruption. And you do imagine a world where data and liquidity move freely. That's why you're at HackFS. And in the upcoming weeks, the FVM team and many other of the great people in the Protocol Labs and ETH Global ecosystem will support you. But afterwards, what's next, right? And we have thought about this quite a lot at Protocol Labs, and we stood up a program specifically targeted at you that we call the Founders Program, or the Founders Program by Protocol Labs, where we want to support builders that push humanity forward. Now, structurally, how do we do that, right? There are three elements to this program. There is a big piece that is obviously the capital. So if you want to build something, you have to not just invest time, but you have to invest capital to bring it to fruition. We have expert programming, and we are going to speak about this quite a bit. And then there's a really strong and really important community aspect to this as well. In the upcoming couple of minutes, and also in the talks that are going to come after me, we are going to go into all of this and how we execute this and how you apply, etc., in quite some detail. However, for now, I just want to take a step back and relate myself to you a little bit and kind of give you an idea of who I am and where we as a team are coming from. So first of all, I feel you, right? Like creating a startup is hard. I've been there myself. I've been creating startups since 2013. I was deal side at a VC, investing in Delivery Hero. Went through this deal, joined the global management team, and took that to IPO. Turo's also IPOing this year. I was part of the founding team of Proof, which was acquired by Turo for about $100 million. And then most recently, I was part of the founding team of Pumpkin, which surpassed 100 million of annual recurring revenue in 2021. However, this is what it looks like, right? But this is not what it actually feels like. As an entrepreneur, you go through some ups, but you have to cross really, really deep valleys. So if you look, these are pictures that actually my longtime partner provided me of her perspective of kind of like how she sees me as an entrepreneur, like big bags under my eyes, just napping on the couch, fast food while, I'm developing product and so on and so forth, right? So I really emphasize with you, the founder's story is an extremely tough story, particularly now that we have, entered a pretty deep kind of crypto winter, and the regulatory environment is shifting around us. So as a team, we thought really hard about how can we be best of help to you? How can we best support you? And the structure that we came up with in late 2020 is that of the builder's funnel. And the builder's funnel, hopefully by the end of all of the presentations that are going to be given to you today, is going to be intimately familiar to you, and you will have a really good idea of how to interact with it and how to apply for, you know, the individual pieces within this program. So naturally, the funnel kind of flows from left to right. It features education for those of you, you know, who are early and just discovering the stack. It features hackathons. I mean, we're all here to hack, right? So you probably know that for many, many years, we have been organizing these hacks. And this is kind of the top of the funnel where we meet you, right? Where you develop your early ideas. But some of you, you know, as I explored earlier, might want to progress. You don't want to, you know, kill the idea. You don't want to drop the idea post-hackathon. But maybe you have, you know, built a strong relationship with your teammates. Maybe you've won a prize, or maybe you've just fallen in love with the idea and the friction that you're solving, and now you want to proceed. And there are a couple of ways that you can do that. One, you know, kind of like the first step is grants. They're not just micro grants. Micro grants are in the range of like $3,000 to $5,000, but there are also dev grants, and these are targeted at, you know, let's say you participate in this hackathon and you feel that there's something in our stack that's missing. There's a clear friction that you're addressing, and you and your team want to tackle this as kind of like an open source contribution to the overall PLN stack. Please feel free to reach out to us. We would love to aid you with a grant and help you, you know, bridge that financial need, so you can focus on delivering against it. Next is accelerators. My team member, James, is going to take quite a bit of time following on this talk to speak about the why, the how, and the when of accelerators, and also to how you best apply to it. After James is speaking, Gabriel, actually one of our amazing partners, we have been partnering with Gabriel for many, many years, Graph Paper Capital and Tachyon, is going to speak, and you can kind of get a hands-on feel of what an accelerator feels like. And then there's obviously the big part, which is you know, investment. As Protocol Labs, we have a number of investment funds. So let's say you graduate from an accelerator, or, you know, coming out of a grant, your idea is crystal clear. There are a number of boxes that you tick, and you now feel that you're ready to take your product to market. You have maybe you know, initial product market fit. Then we stand ready, you know, to invest into your seed round, pre-seed round even, or support your Series A. So this is the Builders Fund. Now, how are we doing? How is the Builders Fund? Has the Builders Fund progressed since its inception in 2020? The funnel has created billions in dollars of value. As you can see, kind of progressing from left to right, we have been steadily growing the ecosystem. And if you look at these individual bars kind of vertically, you will see that many of the startups that have started, like you today in the audience, as, you know, hacks, maybe even weekend hacks, you know, have progressed to Series A, Series B, Series C, even Series D and beyond, right? And what I'm, you know, particularly, I guess, excited about is that a number of the bounties that are announced today for this particular hackathon come from startups that you know, have gone through the entire builders funnel end to end and have once been, just like you, you know, hackers at a hackathon. A number of, you know, examples that jump out are like, you know, the Monas, the Glitters, Huddle 01, and others. Now, while we understand that the builders funnel is extremely critical, and we need to really meet you where you are in your entrepreneurial journey, and, you know, whatever step you take, we need to kind of have an answer and a support system to support you. We also understood over time that it's not enough, right? So there are other things that we have layered and augmented the builders funnel with to kind of supercharge your entrepreneurial journey. And number one is funding, right? So we have a number of funds that cater to your particular situation. You know, if you are more kind of you know, ecosystem, network growth, SP focused, you know, there's a different team that can support you and can assess your individual needs best. And we do follow-on investments, of course. So it's not just, you know, a one-time deal with us. We want to, you know, follow on in your entire entrepreneurial journey. And then there's also fundraising support. as a first-time founder, especially when you come from, a technical background, never been to a business class, the strategy and tactics on how to approach a fundraise to begin with is actually not very intuitive, right? And has to be taught, and we can help you with that. A second piece is community, right? When you are a founder, the most dangerous thing you can be is alone. And what you want is you want to have an amazing network, an amazing kind of augmentation of advisors and people that have similar challenges, or even are a little bit ahead in their journey around you. So you can consult them, you can share your frictions with them, you can consult them basically in your darkest hours, because they will come, and you will benefit greatly from their input and the access that we provide you to the amazing founders in our ecosystem. The main ways we do that is we have an invite-only Telegram group and a couple of other fora. We have a Founders Day a couple times a week, which is truly invite-only, and they create like an intimate space where you can ask questions that you might wouldn't want to ask a VC or a senior executive, but they're easy to ask a peer. The third bucket is expertise, talent, and services. We have the amazing team over at PLN, Andrew Wu, Denise, etc., that have put together a large bucket of services. They call it Mosaic, and they call it PLN Services Marketing Council, that can help you supercharge your business. But there are also, there's also legal advice, recruiting help, right? We help you recruit at highly reduced fees for your initial hires. And we have a superstar team that can help you, think about hiring thesis, etc., which is obviously a very key piece of how to scale a startup. In the fourth bucket, we have visibility in marketing. The Protocol Labs brand goes quite far. So we have been around in the space, and obviously over time, naturally, we have built legitimacy and trust in the space. And this can be very helpful for founders. We want to be a platform for you to celebrate your wins with you, right? So what we do with founders in the ecosystem and as part of the Founders Program is we listen and we track you and we have conversations with you. And as you, as an example, announce a new product launch or announce a successful fundraise, we want to amplify it, right? On our marketing channels, on our Twitters. We might even release a press release and so on. And the last piece I want to stress, and for this one, I'm going to double click a little bit in one specific event that we host, is the networks that we curate, right? So there are two networks that we have specific attention to as part of the founders team. One is the network of top executives and founders that we want to bring in to help consult you, right? To assist you in your go-to-market, to maybe become advisors in your startups, etc. Right? One of the most dangerous things you can do is fly blind, right? You want to, especially in crypto, where a lot of things, where the level of uncertainty is already very high, right? You want to de-risk your go-to-market, your fundraise, the timing, how you roll out product, the sequence, how you engage with your roadmap. You want to de-risk this as much as possible, and the top executives in our networks can help you do this quite a bit because they have been there. And then secondly, we have an extensive investor network. We have thousands of investors that frequently interact and track our portfolio. And becoming part of that founders ecosystem can really help you get legitimacy for your fundraise, but also get started and get a foot in the door with some of the biggest names in the space. This connects very well with the next piece I want to talk about, which is FilVC. And FilVC is a very particular event. It's a investor-focused, invite-only event where we invite the best investors globally, sometimes for an in-person event like in Singapore last year, and sometimes for an online event to hear pitches from the best startups in Web3. And this is truly a huge lift. In Singapore alone, we had more than 3 trillion of assets under management in the audience. You can imagine what that means for your fundraise and how it can supercharge your raise and the capitalization and chances of success for your business. Here on the left, you see a couple of names of the people that attended A16 Crypto, Polychain, Y Combinator, Blue Yard, etc. They were all present and in the audience. A number of names that successfully raised from PhilVC. We have the Tablelands, the Fleeks, and the transcripts. All of them kicked off their rounds at PhilVC. And generally, the feedback that we get from teams that participate and are selected, it's only about 20 to 25 teams every time. They love the experience and kind of the white glove approach we provide them and giving them the big stage. I think one way to think about PhilVC as someone who has raised before is concentrating 2 to 3 months that you would normally have to spend in Silicon Valley, Singapore, maybe in London, to a couple of minutes on a very big stage that really count. All right, so you've heard kind of the overview of the Founders Program from me, but this is obviously not just me. It's a huge team that's kind of lifting this. Please feel free to reach out to us, reach out to James, Nikki, Yaya, Julia, Dawn, and Carlin. And we'll be happy to route your request and help you as best possible. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that intro to the funnel, Ruben, and what that's like from a builder's journey, I guess end to end almost, and then beyond. So really awesome. As Ruben mentioned, I think it makes sense just to jump right into the next talk. We're going to invite up James. James is on the accelerator side and partnerships as part of that funnel as well. As kind of Ruben mentioned, there's sort of the 0 to 1 moments of creating ideas and executing those ideas and building an MVP. That's what the hackathon is for. And then once you're done with that thing and you start getting traction, there's just a bunch of new things that pop up, new problems to answer. And it's the best thing that's possible is to have people around you going through the same thing. And we've gone through that before as well. So inviting up James to the stage to kind of chat about the accelerator program that PL's been leading and to share more about that. So James, when you're ready.
Thank you very much, Jacob, and great to see everybody here today. I'm going to talk a little bit about how and why you should be applying for a Protocol Labs Accelerator program. We're going to touch a little bit on the what's and the whys of acceleration. We're going to talk about the Protocol Labs approach to accelerators. We're going to touch upon how you become a Protocol Labs founder and what that means. It's not all one way. We're going to hear a little bit about our expectations of founders on our programs, and then obviously the next steps for you guys on how to apply. So first and foremost, the what and why of acceleration. As I'm sure many of you know, accelerators are fixed-term cohort-based programs that ultimately help turn your idea into a business. They'll give you education, mentorship, resources, often financing, and so much more. They are intense and they are immersive. They often compress years of education and insights into usually a number of weeks. They focus best for projects that are early product, but tend to also be pre-revenue. And they culminate in a demo day where you get to showcase your amazing project, including all of the insights that you've gathered from the program to a wide variety of investors. Accelerator programs can really help you get the traction that you need for your idea. As Ruben mentioned, a number of graduates from our programs started exactly where you are now as hackers. Incredible teams like PowerLoom, Huddle 01, Secured Finance, and many more. They sat where you are now as a hacker, and at hackathons, we obviously are encouraging all and any ideas, and then they took that idea through an accelerator program that really catalyzed the validation of the idea. For folks who haven't seen, Juan gives a fantastic overview of how to build a Web3 startup, all the way from when that is your idea is a very, very nascent concept through to finding very strong product market fit for your project and scaling and growing your business. And obviously, as John Lennon famously said about hackathons and hackers, you may say I'm a hacker, but I'm not the only one. You are among peers in your journey. So what is unique about our approach at Protocol Labs to accelerators? Well, you've seen this visual just before from Ruben. We want to help take you from your hackathon stage in your journey, working on your project or idea, down the funnel towards acceleration, and turn you from a builder into a fully fledged entrepreneur ready to hit escape velocity. Well, our accelerator programs give you three things. They give you the knowledge, the networks, and the capital to help you succeed. We have two sorts of programs at Protocol Labs. We don't run our own program in-house, but we partner with the best tech partners across the world to co-deliver amazing programs. Our co-branded programs with incredible companies like Techstars, like Longhash, like Outlier Ventures, and Graph Paper Capital, and you'll hear from Gabriel from Graph Paper Capital straight after me. We partner with them as Protocol Labs or Filecoin or one of our other brands and co-deliver the programs together, investing in every single team and taking a really hands-on approach. What's unique about these programs is all of the companies are building on our technology. So you are among friends when you are trying to work out how to solve some of the frictions that you're facing. We also have strategic partnerships with incredible partners like A16Z Crypto, CV Labs, Alliance DAO, and many more. These programs are the flagship programs that these partners run, and we partner with them to provide the PL-specific parts of the curriculum and also offer the suite of support services that Ruben outlined, including access to our community, our network of mentors, our investors, and so much more. So these are not necessarily exclusive to teams building on our technologies, but you usually have a few other folks who are building on Filecoin, IPFS, FVM, and more to talk shop with. We take our partnership selection extremely seriously, and our programs are really carefully designed and around how to enable you to succeed. So we look for the most experienced programs with extremely strong program management. So the MDs of the programs are often multi-time founders that exited several companies, are the best people to help you on your journey. We take seriously the partners from an investment perspective. So ideally, all of our partners have their own investment vehicles to give you capital, or they have extensive partnerships or networks with investors around the world. They also tend to have extremely deep benches of mentors and experts. And so we cross-fertilize our mentorship and extensive investor network with theirs to make sure we get you in front of every single person that could possibly help you. And ultimately, there's an ethos piece here. Our partners all believe in Web3 and they are committed to building decentralized networks. One thing I want to touch on in particular is the importance of cohort-based programs. We intentionally run all of our programs as cohorts because we know intimately the power of peer-to-peer connection. With your peers on these programs, you don't just connect, you build, you grow. And as Y Combinator, as many of you I'm sure will be aware, espouse better than anybody else, your peers often become your first partners and your customers on your entrepreneurial journeys. We've been doing this for quite a while now, and so we've got a very good idea of what it takes to succeed in this very difficult building of a project or a business that scales through product market fit and beyond. So we've been able to repeatedly catalyze the founders, almost 300 of them across our network and beyond. We've run over 36 cohorts with the best partners in Web3 and beyond, and those companies have raised hundreds and hundreds of millions in external capital. So, trust us to empower and best support you to catalyze your build. So what is exciting about becoming a Protocol Labs founder, and why should you do it? Well, all of you here today, take a step back. Let's look at what a cohort in the life of a PL founder might include. Day one, you show up to your program, you meet some of your peers, you bond over the legal implications of DSMs and smooth jazz, Kenny G, all the rest of it. By week 3, you're blown away on a workshop about ZK rollups, and you stay all night up to research and potentially integrate that into your product. Week 7, you have a coffee with a mentor that you've requested to connect with, who subsequently advises you to do something different. You pivot. A fortnight later, you've 3x'd your users. And by week 12, you've got your first deal sheet from a pitch with an introduction to a top-tier VC, and you pop the bubbly or non-alcoholic beverage of choice. Hopefully that gives you a nice flavor of what an accelerator experience might be like. But don't worry, if that's not your jam, we have a number of different programs, each of them bespoke, so there's something for every single founder. Some of our programs are focused on technical founders and turning you into fully fledged entrepreneurs. Some of our programs are for business founders, and they're helping you find your technical co-founders or technical CTO and support functions. And there are other programs that have very, very unique approaches to acceleration. Outlier Ventures, for example, focuses on identifying your biggest friction and promises to resolve it by the end of the program. Tachyon likes to color code founders, and then subject to how you react to both anticipated and unexpected consequences, tailors your go-to-market from your color. Alliance is a program for a much more mature teams. So you might have been on an earlier stage accelerator, even a pre-accelerator, and think, oh, I've done an accelerator program, I don't need to do another one. Don't worry, we've got some that are focused on Series A teams and beyond. The best way to think about our accelerator programs is as a gateway to a number of benefits from across the entire PL network. Ruben briefly touched upon some of these, but I want to double click on a few in detail that are specific for accelerator programs. So the first thing is we have devised and built out with all of our partners and programs a really resilient curriculum that covers everything you need to know about building successful startups in Web3. That includes amazing high quality programming, workshops, and privileged technical and engineering support. To give you a sense of who some of the people that you'll hear from on your curriculums, talk all about everything from Web3 business models to tokenomics, to how you tell the story of your product or brand, to how you fundraise, build communities and more. You'll hear from some of the most leading minds across Web3 who've been also exactly where you are now, including our own founder, Juan, who was on the Y Combinator program in 2014. And we are here today as PL because he sees the opportunity of an accelerator program at that time. Secondly, I think Ruben mentioned, so I won't double click on too many of these in detail, but you have funding. You have access to early stage capital, as well as all of our support to help you fundraise. Again, Ruben mentioned this, but I want to double click on the importance of networks, not just of mentors, and you can have different mentors that support your cause. You can have ex or current founders that teach you about how to become a better founder. You can have investor mentors that really teach you about how to fundraise and close deals once you've got your foot in the door. You can have executives who can give a very different perspective of how you might grow and scale your company. Or you have experts that can help you solve really technical or other issues that your business is trying to resolve. These are really, really important. And networks don't just extend to mentors, investors, or other. They extend to your peers. It's really crucial to build those strategic relationships and partnerships with those on your cohort and across the communities you're fortunate enough to be part of, because they will help you succeed. I promise you that. Obviously, the support that has been outlined earlier from the amazing GigaBrains at Protocol Labs, and this extends across the entire network. So whether or not you want support on one of our core protocols, you want support on cryptography or ZKs, you want support from our talent function to help you find colleagues that you need to help build your company, or as was outlined by Ruben earlier, through the PLN, the Messiah service provider marketplace is amazing. You want discounts on legal services, on design, whatever you can think of, there is a service and a provider for you, and always at a very strong discount for you as a PL founder. Visibility is really important in succeeding for your business, especially as you get to the end of your program. We give you the platforms, we give you the events, we feature you in newsletters, we invite you to every opportunity that we offer to enable you to showcase and demonstrate what you're building. And the community. There is a lot spoken about when it comes to community and Web3. And I think it is one of the things that aligns and brings us all even closer. We are all part of the same global community. We are all part of the same Web3 community. And we like to think of our founders community as a microcosm of that. It really will enable you to connect, build, and grow to nearly 300 other founders and the rest of the network that is there ready to support you. So a little bit about our expectations as I close out today. Firstly, how do you maximize getting onto one of our programs? What is our expectation of the teams that are accelerator ready? Well, think about it as 3 buckets plus community. The first is around feasibility. Can what you're building actually be built? Not just as a prototype, but as a fully fledged business. Can it become a scalable product and service that finds product market fit and attracts investment? And are you the right people to build it? The best founder stories are the people that have lived the friction and then come up with a solution to solve it and bring other people on that journey. Secondly, the desirability. Does what you're building solve a real world problem or friction? Will people actually use it as you're building it and when you think you've built it? Although building never stops. And then finally, on viability, can what you're building find that all-important future growth and attract that all-important investment? And then wrapped around this, there's no point building any of this in a silo. You have to garner support from others who believe in what you're building and can support your cause. So the community aspect is an often overlooked but a really important part of any application onto our accelerator programs. How do you maximize once you're on a program? What are our expectations of you? Well, Ultimately, you craft your path. Active engagement will lead to active reward. If you are engaged, if you are active, if you keep us updated, you tell us about your investor updates, your frictions, your challenges, and you use us, how can we help solve them? How can we make connections, introductions, help connect you with the right person to solve a small friction that might lead to a big improvement with your product? You have to lean into us to reap those benefits, and we really, really encourage you to do so. Not just us, the entire founders ecosystem that is there ready to support you. So I assume you are now frothing at the mouth, ready to apply to one of our accelerator programs. And don't worry, it is super, super easy. So have it in the back of your mind as you're building. Heed the words of the John Lennon on Hackers. So all you need to do is scan the QR code on the left side of the screen that says Scan Me. That will take you to our Protocol Labs Accelerator Program homepage on Notion. On this document, you will also find more information, not just about how to apply and enroll, but also more about what is in it for you as a founder, some of the requirements we have of our applications, and then plenty of more information that will answer all of your questions. You will scroll down onto this page, you will click Apply Here Now, and then there are two options here for you in applying for a program. Option number one is you join our waitlist for all of our accelerator programs that are looking for teams for their accelerators. So you join a sourcing pool of all the teams to which all of our partners can look through your application and then actively reach out to you to say, we are interested in your product or build. We'd love to have a conversation and invite you to potentially apply or join one of our programs. Or if you know what you want, or you've had a conversation with somebody and you think you might be best fit for a specific accelerator, you can choose option 2, where you can apply to the programs directly. And all of our programs, including those that are sourcing, are listed via the second link. Good news, there are 2 amazing accelerators that we've worked extremely closely with the leadership team for many, many years, currently sourcing for teams, specifically FVM teams. And they are Graph Paper Capital, and you'll hear from the amazing Gabriel very shortly, and Long Hash Ventures. So do check out those requirements and apply either throughout or following your hack. Really do use us. I cannot stress this enough. We are here for you. We are all really, really passionate about supporting builders and the next generation of Web3 projects and startups. So whether it's myself or Ruben, the incredible Nikki, Yaya, Yulia, Dawn, Carlin, or anybody else in the PL network who can also redirect you towards us, find us, use us. We're on Twitter, we're on Telegram, we're in the Filecoin Slack. There are many different verticals from which to attack and to use us. So please do. And I will leave this QR code on the screen so those of you who are interested in our programs can click it one more time if you didn't get a chance. And we really, really hope to see you in one of our programs soon. And thank you very much indeed for listening.
Awesome. Thank you so much, James. And thank you, Ruben, before him. I think if anything you should take away from this, they are here for you and that they've spent a lot of time thinking about how they can support builders and people like you who are starting in the funnel or further down the funnel or really any part of their journey. So yeah, thank you both again. And thank you, James, for jumping through that. And awesome. Cool. So I'm excited to bring on somebody that I love talking to. I feel like every time I talk to Gabriel, I walk away with different ideas, different ways of thinking about the world. And they're always very positive. So I'm excited to welcome Gabriel from Graph Paper Capital to chat more about the work that they're doing there. And just as James mentioned, the kind of FVM cohort that they're bringing through as well. So Gabriel, welcome to the stage and excited to have you.
Awesome. Great to see you, Jacob. How you doing?
Yeah. Life's great. Yeah, it's great.
Awesome. Cool. Awesome. Well, always love being here. Always love speaking to the amazing teams that are building and hacking at the HackFS events. So I've got 15 minutes to blow your faces off. I can't believe I just said that out loud, actually. So I want to try to give you as much value as possible over the next 15 minutes. Super excited to be here. Today's session title is how to take your hackathon project and turn it into a sustainable startup. So a little bit about me. I'm a previous 3-time founder, 2-time EIR. I previously was the founder and managing director of a Web3 accelerator called Tachyon. Over the last 4.5 years, I've backed over 90 founders in crypto and Web3. They've collectively raised about 150 million, almost $1 billion in total valuations. And having been a 3-time founder myself, I've made a lot of mistakes along the way. I've built venture scale businesses. I've built N of 1 businesses. So I've seen quite a bit. Graph Paper Capital we're an early stage Web3 accelerator. We're a networked ecosystem, and we really look to back the most ambitious founders who are defining the future of Web3, really helping to accelerate pre-seed and seed stage founders within the space with giving them access to capital, access, and insights. And we've been working with the Protocol Labs team for a long time. And so I think one of the things that I kind of want to help set the context around, I've had to make the transition from like an early project into a venture scale company lots of times, seeing it, from myself. But I've also backed a number of really amazing companies and founders that got their start at a hackathon, just like many of you who are here today. So I've seen firsthand tons of amazing teams that have had to struggle through making that transition. And I've seen founders really successfully make that transition. Some of them I think are actually sponsors of HackFS, and it's really cool seeing that. And so over the years, I've been able to spot the trends in what successful founders do as they make this transition from a project, maybe something that you've been hacking on over the span of a weekend or a couple of weeks. And I want to share with all of you some of the patterns I've seen. And I'm a big believer that success leaves clues. So the big transition that you're going to have to make as you go from a hackathon project to whether or not this can be a sustainable startup is going from building what you think is cool to validating with real users that there is real demand there. Do other people want what you're building? The difference between a project and a company is a customer. And as a founder, you're going to have to get ruthless with finding what's called product market fit and the value that you're delivering to users and being able to prove it ASAP. Everything you do when you make that transition from your product to raising capital to hiring, it is all in service of your users and customers. I told you guys about I'm a 3-time founder, the three co's that I previously founded, but I didn't tell you about the 6 to 7, 8, 9, 10 projects in between that were either lifestyle businesses or that just could never get escape velocity. I just couldn't find product market fit. So I've gone through this, a number of times myself. So my advice for today's session is not theoretical. I've lived this. And so there's a series of questions that I think you want to start to ask yourselves as you're coming out of HackFS to start to answer that will help assess if this is the thing that you should spend the next 5 to 7 years of your life building. So let's jump right into it. Here are basically the 5 key areas that you should be analyzing as a founder or as a group, as a hack group, to analyze and determine if this is startup worthy or not. So I'm going to unpack these one by one. Just time check. All right, doing pretty good. So first, team. A perfect product in a perfect market can still fail with an imperfect team. And so like a lot of products come together in hackathons, for the hack. But a great team, I've seen time and time again that a great team can overcome all the fits and starts to make it work. So when you come out of hackathon, you've got some ideas, you've got what might be an early product, or you have a feature or something like that. The version that you have today might not end up being the version that ends up being the one that has real product market fit. And so you're going to go through a lot of uncertainty. There's this valley of death that every founder has to traverse. And all those fits and starts and challenges. The question is does the founding team, the group of you that are building and hacking together, do you have all the critical skills that your business is going to need? And if not, how do you go about getting them? So some of the questions you want to start to think about and asking yourselves as you're coming out of HackFS is, one, like, do you have a history of shipping together, or did the team just meet up at the hackathon? There's nothing wrong with meeting up at the hackathon, but before you decide to do something like take on a startup together, maybe you want to get a couple of cycles together. Maybe do a couple of hackathons together before you decide whether or not you're ready to make that leap. The great thing about hackathons is that you're forced to ship fast, and you're put in these really high pressure situations, so you can really vet potential co-founders, in terms of being able to keep your cool under stress and pressure. You might want to ask yourselves, does everyone actually want to continue on with this thing that you built, and potentially get venture funding or go through an accelerator? Do you, as a team, have complementary skills? Do you balance each other out? Do you have a unique insight into the market or or a set of users in an industry? And if your team is lacking in any key areas like domain expertise or maybe business operations or fundraising or something like that, what's your plan to fill that gap? Can you fill it with mentors? Can you fill it with getting access to some of the amazing resources that James was just talking about, or in an accelerator and I'll talk about paper capital at the end of this. But these are some things you want to ask yourselves as you're thinking about, the team dynamic within your hack project. The reason why I wanted to spend a little bit of extra time on this one is that the single biggest risk that we see at these early stages are founder disputes and founder breakups. The early days are extremely high risk and high stress. And early founding teams are subject to the same interpersonal problems and require effective governance. So can your relationship survive that tumult? And I think that's the thing that you really want to ask yourselves as you're thinking about, do we want to continue on with this coming out of the hackathon? One question I do get often is solo hackers versus forming a team. Do I need a co-founder, etc. Single founders may not cover all the critical skills and really subjects you to being able to wear a lot of different hats. And so the question is that you want to ask yourself is, do you really think that you can do it alone? If not, what's your plan to fill some of those skill gaps? And I think that's where having access to networks, having access to mentors is a really valuable thing. In terms of the team, most founders that we back are highly technical. So I'm going to assume that anybody who's here at the Hackathon, HackFS, you can probably build a product. But technical skills alone are not sufficient. The founders that I have seen succeed time and time again, at this stage, I've raised millions of dollars for some of my companies. I've done the bootstrap thing and gotten to 7-8 figures, $10 million run rate business, bootstrap. The thing that I've seen time and time again is, in addition to having those strong technical skills, do you have strong founder market fit? In other words, do you understand the industry, the domain, the vertical that you are building in? Even if it's kind of like a new frontier Web3 thing, what's the Web 2 equivalent that you're disrupting, and do you understand the pain points of that particular market? So do you have strong founder market fit? 2, startups are really hard. You are going to have to hustle like crazy. And depending on the type of founder you are, hustling means different things. Can you sell? Can you build your product? Whatever it is, you got to have that drive. You got to have that hustle. And then finally, the best founders are really good storytellers. Can you inspire others to come along on this journey with you? You are a high risk proposition, literally, to everybody you speak with in those early days. And so in order to overcome that, you're going to need an edge. Let's assume that you can build the thing that you're building, that you're hacking on here over this week during HackFS. After that, what's your edge? And you're going to need the one, if not all 3 of these. Okay, so that's the team dynamic. Let's talk about market. You are all building a product that exists in a market with either direct or indirect competitors. And so as you start to think about transitioning from a project to whether this is an actual sustainable startup and business, you want to better understand your market and the users in that market. What are their key pain points? What assumptions are you making about the users in that market? And how can you quickly validate some of those assumptions? How big is the market? How fast is it growing? That's important to understanding whether this is going to be a project that you tinker with, a nice lifestyle business, and I've built a number of those, there's nothing wrong with that. Or is the market opportunity large enough that you want to think seriously about raising money for your idea and going through like an accelerator? So I think there are 2 approaches to product market fit in Web3 when it comes to market sizing, and I've seen both work. So the first is, can you capture a large percentage of a small but a really fast, exponentially growing market? So a lot of the times this will be like a Web3 native market, but it's growing by 2, 3, 4, 5, 600% compounding annual growth. And so, if you capture a large percentage or share of a small but fast growing market, then you're just going to ride that growth curve of that market and be a market leader. And then you can start to peel off into ancillary markets as you raise. And we cover a lot of that during our accelerator. But the second approach is building what I might call a Web 2.5 company and using the Web3 stack as a key differentiator across one of the 4 critical attack vectors, and being able to basically outcompete Web 2 companies using a better, more efficient stack. So either way, you're going to need to build in a very large and growing market. And the way that you can, I literally was mentoring a founder earlier today. The difference between building a vitamin versus an aspirin. The analogy basically is, an aspirin relieves pain, like I'm in pain, I need to alleviate that pain now. a multivitamin is like a nice to have. It's like, I know I should take vitamins. I know I should take care of my health, but yeah, I'll get to it. When you're trying to figure out, is this a hackathon project or is this a potentially sustainable high growth startup, you need to find that high value pain point and be that aspirin in the market by offering a differentiated solution. And you are going to need to ruthlessly assess if the market you're going after is large enough, or that you're making a bet that it will be extremely large. It'll be an extremely large market and that you can own it. And that's the Web 2.5 versus Web 3 native approach. Okay, I want to speed along here. I think I'm running a little long. I'm going to assume most of you are technical, but I think the one thing that's important here, the world is full of smart, motivated people who just can't execute and build. And so depending on your audience, your objective, and the level of complexity of your idea, or your MVP, your minimum viable product, your product will range from some low fidelity build, maybe a no-code solution or something like that, to test some of your key assumptions, to like dynamic UX designs on Figma or something like that, all the way up to full-blown high fidelity products that require a lot more building and coding. In hackathons, you can and should write code. That's exactly what you should be doing if you're technical. But once you start transitioning from project to startup, and especially a startup that has raised money, you need to have a strong understanding of the users in your market before you start writing a lot of code. You might be incurring a lot of technical debt. So like even DeFi solutions that require like security audits, they can be de-risked or validated with users before taking on the heavy cost and complexity and time commitment of like an audit, for example. So you really want to assess your riskiest assumptions in your technical roadmap and your product and the market, and then validate those with users, and then show that you can prioritize your product roadmap as you increase the believability of your product builds with real users in the market. So every version of your product should be getting you closer to higher and higher fidelity builds with real users. Okay, traction, community building. Startups do not fail because of a lack of technology. I promise you. They fail because of a lack of customers and users. And so you need to understand your users intimately. And in the early days, you're really looking for the highest value pain point, and you're trying to see if you can solve that pain point and build real demand. So you're going to start with your hackathon community. That's an obvious place for you to start. That's usually where most hackathon projects get their first couple of users or customers. And maybe some of you are going to win certain prizes, and that'll be great. But at some point, you've got to venture out of that community and this community and venture out into the market and speak with people who don't know you and don't know what you're building, and see if there's real signal there. And the best founders in Web3 that I've seen are really good about building in public and harnessing community. The great thing about building a community and building in public is that even if your project pivots and you end up changing, you have this asset, this amazing asset that you can bring along with you that can pivot along with wherever you go. The other big mistake that I see founders make, especially coming out of hackathons, especially those who end up winning the prizes, is they mistake these vanity metrics for real demand. Things like Discord followers and Twitter followers, or a bunch of judges told me that this is great. That's good, but that's not convincing of real user demand. So as you're making this transition and thinking about, do I have a real startup here in my hands? You need a clear set of early adopters that are ready to use your product, not some of these vanity metrics, or you want to be aligned with very clear industry trends. You are going where the puck you're skating towards where the puck is going. So you don't need a ton of growth in the early days, especially coming out of a hackathon. But what you want is and need is real signal of user demand. So can you show that there are real users that love what you're building or chomping at the bit to actually use your product, your MVP? And it doesn't matter about raising money or accelerators or anything like that. You want to prove this for yourself, so you end up spending unnecessary time chasing a thing that doesn't have real demand. Okay, and then we get to funding. I'm going to blow through this a little bit. I think as a Web3 founder, you have a lot of funding options to you that even Web2 companies don't have. And so you want to start thinking about, does this project that I'm working on or building on, does it fit the venture profile? Is it in a large and growing market? Can it be $1 billion type company? And the great thing about building Web3 is you have a lot of sources of capital that you can get access to along the way while you hit your next set of milestones. And so I think here we go. Yeah, so you've got, this is just a kind of like a mind map of traditional venture versus Web3 venture. You all have access to wonderful ecosystem funds, non-dilutive grants, hackathons like this, maybe strategic angels. You've got seed, you've got accelerators, traditional VC, investment DAOs. You can raise by exiting to your community. So you've got a lot of funding options available to you, which gives you optionality and an unfair competitive advantage as you're thinking about your project. So those are the 5 key areas that you really want to hone in on and think about as you start to think, is this a project that I want to maybe take to the next level with the next set of investment or growth with like an accelerator. So I'll show just a little bit about Graph Paper Capital for those of you that are interested in something like an accelerator. We're extremely bullish on FVM. I've been in partnership with Filecoin Protocol Labs for years now. I think FVM is probably one of the most exciting spaces to be building and hacking in right now. So this is a little bit about Graph Paper Capital. I think the thing that we really seek to do is give our founders, we specialize in pre-seed and seed stage founders. I think that's where we're really good. Just myself having been a 3-time founder, I guess 4-time now, 2-time EIR. And then our network and our ecosystem is tremendous with early stage founders. And so we give you seed capital. We try to build infrastructure around your startup. I don't want our founders having to reinvent the wheel, especially if you're a first-time founder. So we give you, during the course of 12 weeks, battle-tested tools, resources, playbooks, frameworks, the things that we've used to successfully build companies as you look for product market fit within Web3. And then this amazing network of fellow founders and builders. The great thing about having a strong network is not only do you have sources of capital that could be potential angels or seed investors, but typically founders who are also early stage investors are some of the best early beta users. They give you the absolute best feedback. And our network is made up of a lot of founders that we've previously backed. I think it's one of our unfair competitive advantages as an accelerator and ecosystem. Our emphasis is heavy on that 0 to 1 stage, finding product market fit. How do you take the Web 2 playbook and layer in the unfair competitive advantages that you have of finding product market fit within Web 3? And then the other thing is fundraising preparation, teaching you as a founder, how do you actually go about launching and running a successful fundraising process? The fundraising market right now is extremely difficult, especially if you're in Web 3 and crypto. And I see a lot of founders that just don't actually know how to run a fundraising process. This is different than a demo day, by the way, which we do have as well. But yeah, again, for those of you that are building the FVM ecosystem, I think this is probably one of the most exciting ecosystems to be building in right now. We're certainly excited about it at GPC. I think for 2 reasons. One, FVM is anchored to real storage demand, real demand and sticky revenue. So before I was telling you about the size of the market, are you competing in a large and growing market? The TAM, or the total addressable market of something like FVM, is anchored to real world use cases. And so I think not only do you have, as this open data economy starts to expand within the FVM landscape, not only do you have this massive market that will be growing and continue to grow, but it's anchored to real demand. So it's not like you're building a startup in an ecosystem where you're trying to make it more efficient to flip monkey JPEGs, for example. And no disrespect to anybody flipping monkey JPEGs, by the way, it's a lot of fun. But you want to be building in an ecosystem where there's real world demand. And I think the other thing is that I think we're going to see a lot of first mover advantages in FVM, and that will give your startup a defensible moat and allow you to capture a market and be a market leader in a large and growing ecosystem. So we're very excited about it. I think Graph Paper Capital is probably I'm highly biased when I say this, but we are probably the smartest, highest leverage money on your cap table at the pre-seed and seed stage if you're a Web3 crypto founder and builder. So we'd love to see any and all of you apply to the Spring 23 cohort. You can just grab a snapshot of this QR code to head to our website, which is graphpapercapital.xyz if you're interested in applying. And this is just a little bit about our network. I think our network of founder investors is probably one of the most unfair competitive advantages that we have. At any startup founder's journey, you need access and you need insight. And so our 12-week program is really geared towards creating rigor and surface areas to give you exactly that. We've designed an accelerator to surface your biggest challenges as a founder, as a company, And then we design these high fidelity interactions and touch points with people within our networking ecosystem to help unlock that access or that insight that you need. So we'll be working closely with 10 to 15 startups for our spring cohort. It will run June through September. We will have a remote demo day. We will have an IRL investor day where we invite vetted investors from our network who we know, who we've done deals with previously, all in a position to really try to help our founders accelerate extremely fast and then get them ready for that next stage of investment and growth. Okay, I think that's everything. Really appreciate being here. Love the ETH Global community and ecosystem. Love being here and being able to speak to amazing hackers and builders. And you can come find us at graphpapercapital.xyz if you have any questions. Jacob, I might have gone a little over and I apologize, sir.
That's all right. That's all right. I'll forgive you. I forgive you. I mean, I took a lot from that. You covered a lot of topics. Like, I think the main thing, you covered so much valuable stuff, but the main thing I covered was the difference between a project and a company as a customer. And I think one of the cool things is this is a 3-week hackathon too, right? So there's plenty of time to find those first customers even during the hackathon and get feedback as you're building early stage. And then, yeah, as a next step, go down the accelerator pipeline and join Graph Paper Capital's accelerator. And there's just so much support out there. So I think, very excited to have you here, to have you chatting, and for sharing the work that you're doing there. So thanks, Gabriel.
Great seeing you. Great seeing you again.
You too.
Good luck everybody to hacking. Have fun. Would love to see some amazing projects apply.
Amazing. Thank you, Gabriel. Cheers.
Yep.
And before we wrap up, a little bit of an addendum to the schedule, but exciting nonetheless. So really excited to welcome Juan Benet to the stage. So Juan Benet is the founder of Protocol Labs. So we're really excited to have a surprise guest at the end of the summit. It just everything kind of lined up so that Juan could be here. So yeah, welcome to the stage, Juan, and excited to have you here.
Hey, how's it going? Can you hear me fine?
Yeah, everything's great. Yeah.
Great. Awesome. Super excited to be here. I love HackFS. We've been doing this for a few years now, and it's one of my favorite times of the year to be able to work with all of you and hang out and have fun talking about new ideas, new projects, cool things to build, things that might turn into products, things that might turn into like really good open source projects, and so on. So I'm super stoked for HackFS starting. It's very near and dear to my heart. And one of the cool things to see this year is so many teams and people from prior HackFSs are now participating again this year, in some cases as sponsors, which is super cool to see. I was looking through the grid and saw that it's like 3 or 4 teams that started as HackFS teams, like where you are right now, turn into projects and then companies, and now are have good products that tons of people are using, and now are coming back to pay it forward and work with you and build more cool things. So it's really, really awesome to see just that entire cycle rebuilding. So it's awesome to be here.
Amazing. Maybe I know you also have a last minute slide as well. So feel free to, if you want to share your screen now, it'll show up in the back end and I'll promote it when you're ready. But if you go back to the start of your founder's journey and starting your first project, envision yourself back in the shoes of the people who are building for the next 3 weeks. You have 3 weeks to learn, you have 3 weeks to build, you have all these resources, teams, projects, interesting things ahead of you. Where would you start?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, I kind of also got my start through hackathons initially. Like, it's one of the things that I found super fun to do, and I learned a ton from. So I built a lot of things early on that ended up turning into really useful projects through hackathons. And where I would sort of start is you kind of want to find something at the intersection of a few parts. One is something that you're really interested in, like follow your curiosity, follow what you like, follow things that you kind of want to explore. The second is to find something that where there's going to definitely challenge you and push you to learn new ideas, new technologies, new experiment. It's going to push you out of your comfort zone so that you can kind of use this as a great learning experience. It's one of the best things you can have through hackathons. Use it as a great learning experience. And so, but you also don't want to pick something that's maybe too far away from what you know already. So kind of pick the challenge set carefully, where like if you go too far away, then it might just be super, super difficult. Now you can also, if you're excited to do that, go for it. It's just kind of, you may want to calibrate what you do based on how easy or hard you're finding it to be. You want it to be kind of challenging, and you want it to be motivating and exciting and new and different, but you don't want it to be like so hard that it's hard to make progress. Then I would kind of like explore a lot of ideas initially. I would kind of, there's a bunch of lists that we've generated over the years with lots of ideas, many of which, some people have tried building, but certainly tons of open space. You would go to the brainstorming session and think about a lot of things. I mean, just kind of figure out what you find yourself drawn to that you think would be like really cool. And the cool and attractiveness factor for you matters a lot, because one of the things about building projects and products is that if you're really excited about building the thing and you really like it, then you're going to kind of find it much more rewarding to work on it and build with it and learn from it and so on. So it's this really great self-fulfilling loop where if you are learning a ton and having fun with it and building something useful, like that's a great like intersection where that'll help you power through lots of challenges as you're building a thing, right? Like you have to kind of have the vision of like the full thing working and get really excited about that to kind of make it through the challenges of building a product. And so I would kind of like start there. It's kind of like find that intersection between things that are going to push you to learn, things that you're going to like, and find a lot of ideas out there that you think are interesting. And maybe I would like go to a lot of the workshops, even things that you maybe don't know that much about, just to kind of see what ideas pop up there, because you might find something super cool there. I'll give an example from one hackathon a very long time ago. I went to a hackathon. It was like a week-long hackathon that I sort of got together with a set of other people there that I met at that hackathon. And we had the idea of like, hey, this is right around when like iPhones were first coming out and becoming popular. We're like, hey, wouldn't it be great to have like, Pokemon, but like on a phone? This is like way early. This is like way before Pokemon Go. And we kind of like made a monster catcher initially in that week. And that ended up turning into like our first startup. And we made a game called Geomon that came out of like that idea. And we just kind of pursued what we thought was really cool and exciting. And that, turned out to be a super exciting, fun project. And that wouldn't have happened if we hadn't been brainstorming a bunch of ideas. And if we had sort of like come in with like, oh, I'll only look at one set of things, then we would never have had found that set of ideas. So just kind of explore a lot, use it as a learning point, use it as a vector to meet a lot of other people in the community. That's one of the great things about these kinds of hackathons is they let you get to know a lot of other people in the community, get to build relationships, form teams. I was just thinking back that Ayush and Sushmit from Huddle met. I think they knew about each other before HackFS, but they like really met and started like getting to know each other and work together through HackFS, and that really became the moment that team formed and now built a really, really awesome product and company. So these are great. Also be open to the ideas that your friends or the people that you're getting to know get really excited about, and be willing to kind of like go along and try something new.
Yeah, I love that. I love that idea of picking something that's challenging, that is hard, but at the cusp where you can make incremental progress and kind of keep feeling that motion moving. And I think people will always be very surprised in how much work they can do, how many things they could do in 20 days. 20 days is a long time. So awesome.
Yeah, the length of time here is like really good because it gives you enough time to build a solid prototype or sometimes a full product. And so it's not so fast that like you can't actually have the thing working, but it's also short enough that like you can try something new. And if you ultimately choose to like not pursue that, that's totally fine. Like, you just learn a ton through a few weeks of hacking on this particular project, and you learn through it. So yeah, like one big message is, good luck and have fun. Like the have fun part is a huge component of hackathons. So really let your curiosity and whatever you enjoy drive a lot of it.
Amazing. I don't know if you had any slides or any presentations.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna show like the sponsors grid and like highlight a bunch of them that are got started through HackFS, but maybe I'll show that later on.
What I can do is I can go to the page and I can just highlight them myself. So I'll do that, and actually then everybody can see which ones are past HackFS teams, basically.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be a really cool thing for Global to do in the future. Is like kind of like get
Yeah.
a like little badge if your team started in Global.
Oh, there you
That'd be
go.
Awesome. Yeah.
Juan is another one of those people, like I mentioned, Gabriel, where I talk to and I get immediately a bunch of really cool ideas that I immediately want to go implement. So awesome. Well, thank you for popping in. I'll leave the last word with you if anything else to add, but it's been a pleasure. Always great to see you. And I love the beard. I love it.
Thank you. Yeah, you inspired me.
Oh, thank you. There you go. Cheers,
right.
Juan. Thank you so
Thanks.
much.
Take care.
Happy hacking, everybody. Awesome. So just to wrap up the summit, that's been the HackFS Summit. Thank you so much to everybody for joining us today and for being a part of this awesome event. Applications are actually still open. So if you have a friend that you think would be inspired by the conversations that we had today, send them an invite and get them hacking with you and building over the next couple of weeks. And of course, like Juan said, good luck, have fun. Happy hacking. This is what it's all about. It's about having fun, experimenting, building something new, playing around with new ideas, and all around this kind of amazing ecosystem that Protocol Labs has built, both in the technical side and on the support side. So thank you all for being here, and really excited to hack with you over the next few weeks. See you soon.